Mr. Kiba Kikana. He is the acting HOD, and he's accompanied by senior management from the department. And of course, I really want to welcome our esteemed stakeholders for you guys taking out time of your day and your responsibilities to come to the hearing of the Independent Demarcation Municipal Bill. So I just want to get the rest of the apologies, and then I'll speak to the bill in just a moment. Can we get the apologies? I don't know, Jabu, Mamtombi. I've got that HOD Barclay won't be able to attend due to pre-scheduled engagements at national government, but are there any other apologies from honourable members? Can't see anyone. Charlene or Mamtombi? All right, we'll just, we will wait for those. I'll also like the list of stakeholders as I did in previous public meetings, just so I can welcome everybody nicely. Right, I'm now moving into agenda point 4, which is the purpose of today's public hearing. And that really is for us to discuss, and you all will note you've been given the actual piece of documentation. That is the Independent Municipal Demarcation Bill. This is a new piece of legislation that's been introduced by the National Department. And today we want to hear your thoughts and your ideas on this particular bill. It does speak to how we decide on our wards, and that is important because if you decide on how you come up with your wards, it affects service delivery, it affects budgeting, it affects a number of different issues which the national and provincial department will speak to. But it is important to understand that this is not just a technical bill on a governance side. This has real life implications for yourselves and for the millions of South Africans who live in this country. This is not just a piece of legislation that affects Gauteng, it's what we call a Section 76 bill. And as a result of that, it affects the whole country. So anything you guys say, we're going to be noting into a report. That report we're going to take to the National Council of Provinces, where it will be discussed as all the provinces, and eventually it will go to the National Assembly for changes, discussions, and eventually, we hope soon, the President will sign it into law. But of course, that all depends on the things that you say. So please, this is a safe space. There's no stupid question, there's no stupid comment, nothing like that. We are open and going to hear everything that you have to say, because our job is very important, it's to listen to you. Our job is to be a link to the public, to link the pieces of legislation to people, because at the end of the day, that's the most important reason why we are here. So before I get into it, I want to see, is Mr. Kiba in the... there you are, sir. Mr. Kiba Kikana, I'm going to go straight to you because we're starting a bit late. This is from the, going to be a presentation from the Provincial Department of COGTA. Mr. Kikana is very good at presenting this bill in a way that we will all understand. Like I said again, if you don't understand, you can use the translation services. I'll repeat one last time what the channels are. If you want to listen in English, that's number 1. If you want to listen in Zulu Xhosa, number 2. If you want to listen in Afrikaans, number 3. If you want to listen in Sesotho Setswana, number 4. If you want to listen in Tshivenda or Tsonga, number 5, and sign language is up on the screen. Mr. Kiba, over to you. Let's give him a round of applause. Shame. He presents this bill, I think, every few days to different communities, so he knows it in and out. Mr. Kikana, you can sit on this side. So you're comfortable. Oh, you need the laptop. Oh, I see, okay. Also on a side note, I'm a bit sick. I've got my trusty strepsils, so hopefully together. I know there's a flu going around. I see a few people in a mask as well. So I really do apologize if I struggle through the meeting. I can already feel best to make sure that we represent your thoughts and ideas as best we can. I think, Mr. Kikana, you are almost ready. Oh, another matter, just so that you are aware, we will be providing lunch after the public hearing. because we know that it's been a long day by the time we get there, and we also understand that we've taken you out of your day. So from us at the end of the process, we'll ensure that there is lunch for everybody who's in attendance. Mr. Kekana, over to you. The connection's not up yet. Okay. That's okay. This is a good time. I see we're taking out extra chairs, which is really an important thing. Mr. Nhlamulo, you must tell your team again. I had another public meeting where we had to take out extra chairs. So we've done our mobilization work to ensure that we have a mass base of community at all of our different public hearings. Thank you. Let's get, in fact, it's a good time. Take the chairs out. You have a few minutes because we're still getting the presentation up. Okay, I'm seeing it, but it's looking small. Jabu, can we make it in slideshow mode? Yeah, your laptop looks like it's... Yeah, something's happening. Can we not use another laptop? Because isn't it just an HDMI cable? Jabu, can you confirm if it's just an HDMI cable? Because then we can use Mr. Kekana's laptop. Do you have an HDMI? Jabu, let me suggest that you download this thing and then put it on PowerPoint mode. In the meanwhile, I'm going to ask you, Mr. Kekana, to start speaking to it at a high level, and then by the time we've gotten this sorted out, I think we'll already be ready for the slides. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, honorable members, Executive Mayor, and colleagues, let's kakaretso. Ke tlo move between the languages so that re kgone ho tsamaya this journey together. Bill re bolelang ka yona, the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill. Ke molao kakanywa. It's a bill, it's not yet a law. It's something it's in the public domain. It is a comment. The driver the National Department of Cooperative Governance. Colleague Yarona Shile National, Pam introduced Mulan Tlamulo, Leana Getlo Berexana Leana, Warabari Pozo, Nalapel colleague Yarona Se Chulubise from Kokta province. So jointly, he will the questionnaire, share the questionnaire. But of importance, why renally this bill, purpose, the objective. We all know that how about we are something, then there should be a purpose or objective. Lebaka ke eng re bolela ka this bill. I'm sure tla tseba hore re na le constitution molaotheo mo South Africa. Mo molaotheo o ha re o lebella ro wala, the constitution e boletse ka a body e tshwanetseng e lebelle di boundaries in terms of a municipality, e tshwanetseng e lebelle hape the delimitation ya di wards. Gore go be le di wards, ward e tla boya e tla fitla mo kae, e tla thoma mo kae, masepala o tla thoma ko kae wa fitla mo kae. So ha re bolela ka di masepala, re bolela ka di boundaries, because the borders ke tsa di countries, tsa di masepala le di provinces ke di boundaries ke tsa ka mogare. And then ha re bolela ka di delimitation ya di wards, ke gore di wards size ya tsona e tlo ba e kanang ena le batho ba kae ka mogare. So that is very important to know. So molao ka the constitution ya re obligate ya re gapeletsa, it's a must gore tshwanetse re be le structure se leng gore or an institution that is independent gore e dile ka dilo tsa demarcation, so that is ka influenceiwa even independent authority that organization dealing with these matters. Because once dealers are demarcation, this is independent, they cause a lot of problems. Ne? Because we all know the protests around the demarcations, for which communities fall under which municipality or which communities fall under which ward. In other areas, because of the protests. And those protests, they get instability in local government or in the local democracy. So that becomes very important. Or in very serious, because the democracy is felt and experienced at the local government level, in a ward, in a municipality, and then we go bigger and bigger as such. So the first thing, here we like a demarcation board, it provides for establishment, the functions, the powers of an independent municipal demarcation authority. So as we speak, re bolela hona no, dilo tsa rena tsa demarcation di diriwa ke through the Municipal Demarcation Act. It's just Municipal Demarcation Act and di dira ke Municipal Demarcation Board. In that, akona mantswaring independent, akona mantswaring authority. So we are introducing the words independent as well as authority. Hebar or authority is something where the buck stops with you. Onale the legal obligation. Hosa petato se tshwantsho petato ka ile tronkong. So you've got that authority, but that over credibility to maintain a reputation in a particular institution. So that is how it replaces a criteria. Criteria. You can't just determine to become a municipality within these boundaries, so that as a community, and then the ward is criteria or for you to be then that ward doesn't have those elements. You've got a right perhaps to lodge an appeal, or this is not in compliance with the law, because it's going to become a law. So the other one, for the first time now, the boundaries tsa di masepala hore ekele say di municipality like emfule then ka mosaeteng ela motlhomong na le Joburg e Kuruleng etc. If una le di masepala tseo ka mo or the ward tse ba di editseng in that municipality, independent demarcation appeals authorities. For the first time, we don't have it as we speak. Arena yon khedi taba tsa demarcation rejection really everything demarcation board this time the Demarcation Appeals Authority. That's very important. And the municipal capacity assessments. Municipal capacity assessments, Rena go kokta ya mo provincing ka 2018-20 is provided, some did not. But municipal capacity assessments, because capacity tells you how do you have capacity to perform these functions and exercise these powers. So it's a detailed exercise from finance, from economic, from infrastructure. All of these aspects are evaluated. So as I speak now, from the democratic system, their cooperative governance is not complete until it incorporates the elements of the traditional communities. Recognized, sometimes unrecognized. There's a process that the recognition. So it's very important for in this independent municipal demarcation bill, authority bill, it mentions the traditional leadership and the traditional communities. Now, the independent municipal demarcation authority. So in ale king its status, the functions, the powers. He re tlo re ke an independent authority, re e bitsa ka mokgwa re e bitsang. What we want to see, there must be a board, there must be an administration, there must be staff. These three components together, they form an authority. So an independent, then the demarcation, municipal authority. This is an authority. That is something that is not there as we speak now. Now ka department and then ka board. Got the board, municipal demarcation board appointed. But now, yes, now ka three things. There must be a board, clearly defined board with powers and functions. Then we must have an administration that is also having a mandate. Then we've got staff. But every day. So I want to, this is an institution. So we are now fulfilling the requirements of the Constitution of creating an independent authority that must, preside over these matters of demarcation. We are creating an institution. Once on a board, on a board, on an administration, the CEO, then on a staff members. That's an institution. So we are creating an institution. I think that is important. What is the status of that institution? As we said, it is provided for in the Constitution, listed under Schedule 1 of the Public Finance Management Act as well. It's from the Constitution, but if you go to Public Finance Management Act, Schedule is listed under Schedule 1, this authority that we're talking about. The emphasis it must be independent, impartial, and it must perform its functions without fear, favor, or prejudice. It's a serious body, ne? Yeah, it's a serious body. So our responsibility is to monitor whether it will be independent. So as we look at the establishment part, we must see whether all of these things they create a body that is independent, that is impartial, and then the body that will perform its functions without any fear, favor, or prejudice. Those are very important. Because body must be independent. For municipal boundaries, we're using two. We say determine. You may find nothing exists. We start from scratch. So we are determining the municipal boundaries. But as we speak, we may find already the municipal boundaries. We are redetermining them because we create the inputs. Maybe a metro system of government. Houtem speaks about metro system of government, and then we look at the reconfiguration of municipalities, we do capacity assessments, we present our case for demarcation board. Demarcation board really looks at the Gauteng municipal architecture, and then they are redetermining. Try and advise the municipalities or the minister, but we think, or we should maybe look at reconfiguration in this way, based on A, B, C, and D. And then the authority, the powers, our authority, the power is one by exercise. In the power, this institution to determine its own staff establishment and appoint employees. Determine staff establishment, you do an exercise, you perform the function and thing, you create an organizational structure, that is your creator. That is the staff establishment was born from there. And then power happy to appoint the staff into that staff establishment. I think leading municipalities, the accounting officers are also empowered to a certain extent. So this authority will have that aspect, who create an organizational structure, because in the administration, and then who employ labor to into that. And then, in our power, who appoint to perform services. They can appoint somebody as a consultant to advise them on issues of topography. They can appoint somebody to advise them on issues of municipal infrastructure or somebody to advise them about the economy or the economics of that area. Or Babita State South Africa to help them about figures in order to determine the population and the size of those wards. To open their own bank account, it's a bank account to social club. Once you have a bank account, it shows that you've got an authority over your own finances as a club. You appoint your signatory, so it will have something to that effect. Perform legal acts, institute or defend any legal action, so it becomes a legal person. It can sue and it can be sued in its own name as a municipal independent demarcation authority. So in all the powers, take the exercise and come allow. Right, and then to collect and disseminate relevant information about matters of demarcation. The board is +7. The board, Barry, it must consist of not less than 7 members, and it must also consist of not more than 10 members. So the minimum number to see who get board, it must be 7. The maximum should be 10. Could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 10, but it can't be more than 10, it can't be fewer than 7. So that is how the board should be. Now, an authority in terms of the law, there must be a board, there must be an administration, there must be staff. So now we're like a board. Our board must be 7, minimum 7, maximum 10. Any number qualifies. Appointed by the President of the Republic in terms of Section 10. Right? So I want to President William because ke high level then the second part, the board must represent the composition of the broader society, of the broader South African society, and also have a diverse pool of knowledge and on demarcation. Those who wrote the act from national, our colleagues, when we wanted to understand why this emphasis, it must reflect the broader South African society, the answer was, the previous act said it was talking about like regional representation, you see. And when it says regional representation, in the minds of other people, they would link that to some other, criteria. Maybe re bone go na le region e ke ya batho ba buang Sesotho ya Basotho e la ke ya batho ba buang Sezulu e la ke ya Matebele jwang what, and people start arguing for these things which are not contributing to the united non-racial democratic non-sexist South Africa. So this thing says you must fulfill that preamble ya Constitution of South Africa. You must reflect the broad South African society. You must see non-racialism, you must see non-sexism, you must see unity, and then we must see a democratic, there must be that sense of democracy in the appointment and the reflection of this board. So that is very important. But over and above doing that, we must see people, Babatisang experience, and then little knowledge on issues of demarcation. Maybe they should also emphasize the point of wisdom. Great knowledge speaks, wisdom listens. So it's very important for wisdom. The veterans, what they possess that we do not possess is wisdom. If you just go to them, you speak to them, they don't listen to you wanting to respond. They listen to you because they want to hear you out. That's wisdom. So maybe we'll talk about it with our colleagues there. Responsibilities of the board. I want to give this example. When a new term starts, Municipal, the mayor is obligated by legislation. Ka issue ya the IGPs, ya strategic, direction, ya Municipal. Mandated, I guess then move fishing and not have this 5-year plan. Whether you call it It's a strategic plan, but you express it in terms of IDP so that it can have money. So, only that obligation was set at that by law. So this authority, hides into office, only that mandate, ya ho run this authority, but it set a strategic direction. In other words, when they are appointed, when the board is appointed, it must lead the authority, but it must clearly give us what is their strategic direction. Yo bereka in the 5 years, ya term ya bona, fela jwalo. So we'll measure it. But it's also there to approve policy and develop the plans, as we said. And then you oversee the implementation. Remember, as a board, onale babereki, mayor shule onale municipal manager, the accounting officer, has set the strategic objective. He doesn't sit back as a mayor, leading the institution. Utlorobabele service delivery budget implementation plan to monitor the performance of that budget for that particular year. So this authority will operate more or less in the same direction. You must then say, those who are implementing, because your duty as the board is to set policy and to develop plans. Then your administration must implement. So this is how this authority will work. But Koma Fellow, in the final analysis, value for money, Ribitsa performance. Have we done what we were supposed to do? What is the impact? I think we answered that question. Output, yes, how many things, but impact, how many people's lives have changed. So look at demarcation board. We don't just change boundaries because you want to change them. It must be to enhance the quality of life through the services that we provide, through the infrastructure that we put and maintain in that particular space. That's why we can't have a municipality criteria because the capacity assessment will help us. So right, I'll pass qualifications of the board members. Yeah, all of us as South Africans we qualify to be appointed as board because it must reflect the broader society of South Africa in terms of race, in terms of culture, but these are some of the qualifications. Over and above, we are a South African, what else must we possess? So it says you must be a South African citizen, South African citizen. Yeah, look abam kanda wiri kasfani, waba banda, waba honghang, waba mamang, whatever. The bottom line, you must be a South African. The only authority to tell us whether you are South African or not South African is Home Affairs. Ne? La wana ntwengule ngina le authority. There narira authority are demarcation. So authority on Home Affairs, population register, who is South African citizenship, etc., the authority is Home Affairs. So if we are in doubt, for a kekana, ke South African, uskaya wutisa, uskaya munyaka go flow X-ray, or wutisa watu munyaka, just check the Home Affairs. They will tell you. So that is very important, because we don't want to find ourselves who are appointed as South African. The second aspect, they must have necessary qualification, necessary experience, necessary knowledge in relation to the following key components: development, planning, local government, municipal finances, as well as the broader aspect of planning. Like the qualifications too. How would you meet the qualifications too? And then, but on some notice if you pass you a smaller, then bansa notice government gazette ki kuranta muso iskartsusa ino ba kuranta muso habansa mola bare invitation to the public to nominate members of the board of the independent municipal demarcation authority. How ubona umita di qualification and say ditsenele ngwana kwa. Or if you know somebody, mu nominate muthu again, because we qualify, we are South African citizens. If we possess the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, the wisdom, then let's do that. Ne? So I exclude motho, but you must have these qualifications. Le ha ba appointa municipal manager or city manager, mansa criteria. Wada, you must have this. How do you meet our apply? Again, wonderful. So now, the last part, ke mang o eleng hore a ka disqualifyiwa ho ba a member of the board. How le under curatorship? Curatorship re tlhalosa simple ka English. Mamodle se ba tla re thusa. However, kore o under tlhokomelo e itseng ka re wena o kgona itlhokomela. Basically that what it means. I go to one also kono tlhokomela dikoloto tsa hao na go mba o under debt counselor, under what I go to one. So lo tse bjang. Ha o le mo o tlhokomela bjang ditšhelete tsa independent municipal demarcation board when you cannot take care of your own finances? It's not going to happen again. It starts there. Ne? If you can't take care of your own personal issues, finances, or any other thing, you cannot. Insolvent, you know, koro ausana selo, nona le business, nona ling, ausa corner, you can't meet your obligation, you can't pay your creditors. But hoba kolotang asa kono ba patela, la ru ira nga ukhono, so you are insolvent, in simple terms. Or who hold a political office. Bo mele bontate ba ba dutsing mo kaofela mo. As it stands, they don't qualify if this bill becomes an act today. Kantle le nna ke ra fona ke tlatla monna ke bolela ka they don't qualify. Full-time employees of the state manu isupa nna la bona le nna ya ntsha because I'm a full-time employee of the state. Out le our colleagues ba re boletseng ka bona ko mora ya ba ntsha. Maybe nhlamulo hatla o tla bolela a tlhalosa tse ding say, but it excludes. And convicted, if you are convicted of a crime. A ka ratse ba le ko IC ba na lo bolela re 12 months blah blah ba itlaleletse. One, you know, many people had crimes and then the particular period ya feta and then bare dia tlosiwa ke nona le term engwe ba rata he ba tlosa mo ditabeng tse ding ba expunge. So the record has been expunged, your name has been removed from a particular list. So those are some of the things that are a detail. What is not in detail, my colleagues bangwala the regulations, further regulations ne more clear. So I'll pass on that one. Appointment of board members. The minister. So when I know here minister for Kacheku, itla bolela ka minister wa Kokta. Hanchi ba no ngala ba minister responsible for local government. So the minister must, when it say must, hauna choice ne. Where may wala skwasela may ukana wa, but when it say must, hauna choice, we have to do it. So the minister must publish a notice in the Gazette and in the newspaper advertisement to invite applications or nominations. If you think you qualify, you can do that. Gazette, really simple terms. Kuranta muso, ribita Gazette. So then after consultation, the president, like a minister, but we establish a panel. Agre, who's on notice to the nominations. What list list you a panel to look at whether but qualify. So panel EU in minister in consultation. Or minister consult the president. Nominations, and then once there's an agreement there, then there's a panel in place. The selection panel, minister in consultation with the president must, again an obligation, must compile a list of nomination. Everybody, ba bang ba nominatileng tshwantse be le list eo. They compile a list of nominations le di applications tse ba di receiving, and must from that list ba etsa recommendation ya suitably qualified persons to be appointed as members of the board. So it's a process. And then the selection panel thereafter recommends appointments to the minister, and then the minister, who in turn recommends to the president. So la bona finally, board the appoint again president, ne? But it's a market step. Panel to the minister, minister to the president. And then president says, this is the board. Something here will let him down. So it's very important to note that aspect. If it's a maiso, or it will be, it's a comply le molao. All right, so term of office, your body, 5 years. So a member of the board, but I'm appointed for a period of 5 years. However, if I perform all right or I'm really happy, then I got another 5 years. But I got serving more than 2 consecutive terms. Can only serve this term and the next term. From there you can't serve. Ne? But server 1, yeah, we 2 reserve. I think it's going to be based on your performance, because there's continuity as well as change to be accommodated. And then a member of the board may not hold office for a period of more than 2 terms. Members of the board Baba appointed on full time except for the chairperson, whose appointment is either full time or part time. So it will depend like a president who appoints, look at the requirements of the institution. A decision to remove a member or board on reasons or on grounds of misconduct or incompetence must be based on a finding. We use the example that we currently use. Wabona, the president, the recent case that we know, or the recent cases that we know, when the public protector was removed from office, President Anor Gyamutlos, there was a process, the parliament by the committee, what, then there's a finding, then it's considered, so he set up a committee. That's very important. It is safeguards of democracy, so that no power shall reside in one individual, especially when it affects the institutions that are supporting democracy. So that's very important. So President aka utlwa nna ke re ntate Lobisi mola o corrupt o etsa eng o entseng, President aka se utlwelle my voice, o set up a panel. That panel must investigate, it must have a finding, and then on the basis of the finding a decision is made. So those are the safeguards. The next aspect, your board. The Minister of Finance also plays a very critical role, clause 12, in determining, together with the Minister of Kokta, responsible for local government, to determine the conditions of appointment of members of the board. You know, once you appoint a board, remuneration or stipend, allowances, all sorts of things, full-time, kai, all of these things. So normally they affect Chalet, your state, you get Roa Fajuan. So Minister of Finance gets involved to determine the conditions of appointment of service or of appointment of members of the board. Because balebella hapelore experience hamutoke kanang utlisa all sorts of things. Then the most important thing happen, the chairperson wa board ubizwa is regarded as the executive authority of the board. You know, in our department, Kokokta, the executive authority is the MEC. The accounting officer is the HOD. So like one ordinarily same kind. The chairperson of the board becomes the executive authority. Or a different like if things go greater say on the meetings of the board, or unless you raise your hands, you can't make a proposal probably in the meeting and expect it to be discussed. Maybe the producer says you must send it 7 days before the meeting. The of the meeting fella. So what determine but of importance, you keep a minute audit. When they audit, they
Appreciate that, but I also don't want you to be sitting in, in a place where it's difficult for you to hear and to see and to listen. So please do join us. Sorry about that, Mr. Kekana.
Thank you, Chair, for that water break. Let me just have a sip. Let me have a sip. Thank you. All right. So, right. So, the last part that I want to raise here, thanks, Evo. So, the last part that I want to raise here, delegation. Chairperson indicated, for the purpose of this meeting, I'm delegated to represent the HOD of COCT. The delegation. If certain things ought to be done by the HOD in this meeting. So, Mara, who delegated? Your authority. What now delegate supposedly the responsibility, blah, blah, blah. But the board may not, when all the powers, the functions take us to delegate. Now, the biggest part, board, is to do the determination and redetermination of municipal boundaries. Again, we two and we important is to do the delimitation. The words, for the words, it's a guide, it's a board is going to delegate to one person. Again, but I want to take a you'll finalize the boundaries that must palagili one. You can't. So it shows or more when the safeguards, not to abuse power. So board cannot delegate some of these functions. It has to perform these functions on its own. The mayor here will also say, I want to pass a budget, council, the legislature cannot delegate that function to the mayoral committee. It cannot. The budget of the municipality must be presented to council and be passed by the majority of the council. It cannot be delegated. That's very important. So the functions are determination, redetermination of municipal boundaries, as well as delimitation of the wards. The board cannot delegate them to the individuals. In short, that section clause 17 deals with that. I will move. Conduct of the board members. My charo, the behavior of the board members. Perform your functions if you are appointed as a board member in good faith, without fear or favor or prejudice. Uskabale mano mabi, wabali sinister motive. Do it for the good of the country, of society. Ribita public good. See, like expropriation, there's something. If it's for the public good, the law says you can do it. If you go to Gauteng, people were moved, buildings were moved because the law was applied. It's public good. So, Luena, who you in good faith, what I would realize so Oscar because he got demarcation board. What yaga kenya kaibeli di molo for? What yaga kenya kaibeli this? Municipal kenya kaibe metropolitan. So it should be you do it in good faith because this municipality meets this criteria. There's economy there. You are not going to divide communities that have been previously integrated. You are not going to have a municipality that does not have quality or sustainable infrastructure for growth where people can be employed. Again, so those are the criteria. You can't use any other criteria to do that. Or because it's a valid now, it's a city, then you favor city against others. So that is doing things in good faith. And you must also disclose. When you go about board member, ntsha diphiri wa disclose. Re yaanong o occupy a public platform, you must be able to disclose any personal or any private business interest. O ka se rane company ya hao ka situ o sa disclose. You must go and disclose. You must be captured in that register. So if you are not prepared to disclose those things, you can't become a board member. And then you can't use your position or privileges for private gain. So when I was here, Jojo, wara ke tlo le sota out le ska wara. What you alena ke tlo increase ka size. You must not compromise the credibility, impartiality, independence, or integrity of the board. Because we said it should be independent, it should be objective, it should maintain its credibility and its reputation. Now, that is the first part. But it's in later you might have missed. Harabulela independent, kuma felon it's an authority. For you to see who it's an authority, it must have a board, it must have an administration, it must have a staff. So, ke feditse ka o bolela ka the first part, ne, which is the board, who says administration. Now we are talking about the administration and the staff, the last two components. Chief Executive Officer, get plus 9. What are the board, once a minister, president ba appointile board. It will criteria. That board, when it's in place, it must now set up an administration. The first thing that they do when they set up an administration, they appoint a chief executive officer. That is then accounting officer. Hengabele departmenting, they appoint a HOD. So now they will appoint a chief executive officer. Chief executive officer, what kind of qualifications must appoint? It doesn't say you may as a board. You must appoint a suitably qualified and experienced person as the chief executive officer for an agreed term, not exceeding 5 years, which may be renewed like that one of the board, got one more term. You see, when it says must, it means if board deliberately appoints somebody who is not suitably qualified, they may be taken to task. They may be taken to task. If I can prove, or this board appointed somebody who is not suitably qualified, because the qualifications are indicated, that the board may be individually and jointly be held liable for appointing somebody who is not suitably qualified. Because it says it's a must, they must do that. Then the second part, the CEO, the chief executive, will be the head of the administration. He will the directors, and yena self CEO, municipal manager in our case, must appoint staff, must appoint employees for staff establishment, mobile organizational structure, organogram. Then the CEO must then feel that those posts now, the staff establishment, suitably qualified people. So that is the administration is beginning to shape the staff. And then the conditions of employment, clause 20. Rena Harberega so unal Public Service Act as the public service, public servants, but appoint in terms of that Public Service Act. So the employees that the authority, they will be appointed in terms of the terms and conditions of the employment determined in the board. So the board must determine how employees are going to be employed and what are their conditions of service in line with the applicable laws of the country. So that's very important. The second part, contracting of services. We know once you are an institution, you can contract, you can procure services, you can contract the service providers, you can contract quite a lot. You have to do those things, and you must also have a policy to remunerate such persons? And then the policy of supply chain management. How do you procure goods and services? Supply chain management. The finances, the authority is funded by money appropriated annually by Parliament to enable it to exercise its powers and perform its functions. Rawone maloba mo last week, Minister na leko Parliament present the budget. So through that mechanism or budget approved by Parliament, the funding at this authority will come through that. The last point is about authority may receive money from other sources through the National Revenue Fund. I think MOBA protector Oscar Krachelete outside of what is within the National Revenue Fund, National Fiscus, because oka influence batho ba bang. Again, somebody wa humileng ana le chelete akana fa batho ba body aba influencer hore ba ire what it's a thing or ba ire masipala ko kae le ko kae. Again, so to avoid that, they must be funded through the national, through the Parliament mechanisms and through the National Revenue Fund. And then criteria determination. Now, this is the meat now. There has to be a criteria. How do you determine a ward? How do you determine a municipal boundary? The first thing that you need to do, capacity assessments, they also contribute once konale masipala in there. It must enable effective local governance. Once you do that, we determine the municipal boundary or redetermine. The first thing, it must enable effective local governance. What's one to who will masipala? Who will this structure? Say lungore setla etsa gore batho ba bone ba khotsofale gore ba busiwa pila go bana le ba perform the functions tseng ditsela, the local economy is promoted, waste is removed, waste management or the environment, water is supplied to all of these things. Once those things are there, effective local governance. But that's very important. So the Demarcation Board, this determination, redetermination, must first look at this thing. You can't have demarcate, determine or redetermine municipal boundaries in a space of poverty. I think that is the message that is coming through. We can't have that. Hakere Maspala ofanda its recurrent expenditure, almost your day-to-day expenditure, from your own revenue. And the main sources of revenue, ke the residents, ager di patela the services, ager. How about ba ba sa sebetse le poverty? Bo patela jwang? That's the first, ager. You look at the economy, the socio-economy, whether on all the businesses, say di patelang certain taxes, kwale, ba patela eng motlagase ba patela eng. Will you have sufficient revenue for this municipality to promote or to enable local effective local governance? These are the questions that the experts who must be appointed co-body, they must do. If they fail that, or they have not fulfilled their mandate. That's very important. The second thing, they must enable integrated development. The IDPs. Integrated development, it's a development that you see, let's use this analogy. But investors, investment will follow quality infrastructure. I eat investment, must know quality infrastructure. If you don't have roads, If you don't have electricity, you don't have water, you don't have safety and security, all of these things, businesses may not feel comfortable to come and invest. Because when you produce, good factories are how producing for the sake of production, you produce for consumption. So for you to distribute them, you need proper road network, ne? You need sustainable telecommunications, ne? Uska kralori how tlamutukwa a small hip, your network, your phone will break. So they want those things. So all of these things, it's an integrated development. Ne? So it's very important for that aspect. Determine a boundary. So in that boundary, we must see the potential or the existing capacity to enhance integrated development and planning. Ensure that the tax base is inclusive as possible of users of municipal services. In the 80s, the slogan was one municipality, one tax base. One tax base, one municipality, something to that effect. You need that. So that is why this point, number 3, is very important. It must ensure a tax base that is inclusive. You can't have a municipality that is only having people. Because now other sources that are contributing to the tax base. There must be some business element. Etla patelang the tax because, bahira bacho babereka, they have a disposable income, they can pay rent, they can go buy TV, they can go buy something. So there's a local economy. So it's important in a municipality to see that. Factors to be taken into account, clause 24, the interdependence of people, communities, and economics. Sometimes when we plan, we forget about people. We plan, with a physical planning, we forget the soft parts. There are people in that ward. There are people in that municipality. You have to think about the survival, about interdependence of people, lady communities, and the economy in that. I've made a point in that regard. The need for cohesive, integrated, and unfragmented areas, including metropolitan. So you must see a solid community which has got almost all of the things that are including public amenities. I made a point at the beginning of viability, financial viability, Yamaspa. Where are you going to raise your revenue? It's an important question. It must be answered. Can revenue be raised in this area that we want to call a municipality? If your answer is no, you can't have a municipality to start with. There will be interdependence of communities, there will be fragmentation, and then administrative capacity. Because you must have institutions to run in that area to perform the functions of municipal. That's why we look at capacity assessments. The need to share and redistribute financial and administrative. So it's very important. That's why we look at cross-subsidize in terms of the functions. Where there's big businesses operating, the economy is strong, when people are unemployed, they can be employed, or they can pay more revenue and more taxes in order to cross-subsidize the other functions. Determination of category of municipalities. We know, I think this section in the local government, in the Municipal Structures Act, this section, I think chapters 2 to 4, what has been, in terms of this act, there's a proposal to migrate it, this section from Structures Act into this act. Categories of municipalities. Remember, we've got 3 categories as we speak: Naldi Metro, Naldi District Locals, category A, B, and C, as we speak in Gauteng in the 11 municipalities. We've got 2 districts, we've got 3 metros, and then we've got 6 local municipalities. So this whole thing, yeah, the board must apply the criteria. The criteria must, in terms of how they look at the whole issue of categorization, municipalities. I think this is also a development that is highly welcomed. We're overly sort of almost like a single process of looking at the boundaries, the dots, and then the categories within the same piece of legislation. I think that's very important. So, but when you do that, we know for a determination also calls for consultation with the relevant stakeholders. In this instance, municipalities affected as well as SALGA. And then, the rewards, in terms of the municipal boundary, there's a process that we look at. Remember, this Municipal Demarcation Board, independent, it has got nothing to do with the boundaries, provincial boundaries. Ne? It has got nothing to do. Provincial boundaries, how many provinces we have, blah, blah. It's a competence that is at the national level. They deal with it there. Here, this is for municipalities. How many municipalities, etc., categories, etc. So, we know when they deal with the whole questionnaire categorization, there is always a consultation between the minister and the MEC for local government. Most important thing, before anything is done, there's a public notice or a government gazette, a notice notifying communities as to what is the intention. And then that notice is published. And then we look at that notice so that you must know where your boundaries are going to be affected through a demarcation process. And then in that, you also consult SALGA, Lemahoshi, through their local house, if there's a local house, provincial house, the local houses in that province, you consult them. I'll go to the next one. So, board has got an important role to play. When they receive, because the Fadi applications or, the views about representation, you want certain boundaries to be changed, to be redetermined. When the board receives the representations or the views from any quarter of society, what they do first, the board must institute an investigation. Have I received by voter? No, they conduct an investigation. They may appoint a specialized team, a panel, to investigate that representation or that request. Change the boundaries. That's very important. The board may assign some of its members to sit in that panel, and then so that is very important. So you don't have to worry. The board will not make decisions that are not evidence-based, that are not fact-based. Once you give them something, they will investigate. So I will move to the next one. Public participation. I emphasized it at the beginning where this is the most welcome introduction into this bill, which is improving the previous Municipal Demarcation Municipal Demarcation Act. Public participation. As you are seated here, as there will be too many meetings, when you do this process, redetermination of municipal boundaries, the wards itself, public participation is very important. You consult every stakeholder that is available, every stakeholder that is organized, everybody who wants to be consulted, interest groups. It's important to hear their views. Because if you don't do that process, banally another opportunity to raise the objections, banally another opportunity to approach the independent Municipal Demarcation Appeals Authority e re boletseng ka yona hore it's new. We are having this independent municipal demarcation authority, appeals authority. So it is important to do this work, public participation. And I'm sure the courts in recent times, they found against cosmetic public participation. We can't just do it because we are obliged. We must develop mechanisms, processes, and procedures for public participation that are known. For how we meeting, a notice must be properly structured, the purpose of that meeting, the venue of the meeting, what is going to be discussed, and make it possible for people to attend those meetings. So that is very important. This act is saying exactly that. We must ensure that there is a public participation, so that, because it's a requirement in terms of the Constitution. A people-centered society, government of the people, by the people, for the people, it's expressed through public participation or community engagements. So there's no compromise. You can read it and look at it. But as I said, the most important thing is the mechanisms, the processes, and the procedures for public are important. They should be known. I know what haphazard, no, must be clear. Otherwise, you'll be found wanting by the courts. So interest groups across political structures, civic, community-based, faith-based, mahoshi, everybody, maybe more, like we do go IDP, maybe more, so that we don't have the comebacks. I'll go to the next slide. If there are objections, those objections, members of the public or organized or community-based structures, then they must be publicized. They must be publicized, those objections. Really one or objections again, and then the board must. So there is no choice. The board must consider the objections. The board must confirm whether the objection they agree on or slightly change it, vary it, or withdraw its decisions based on those objections. But after more, it must publish its decisions in the government gazette. That is Uranta ya Muso. And then I will move now. In terms of the ward, the procedure at the wards is not so much different from the boundaries, but here, the first thing, right, we know is starter guy. The minister who publish a formula for councillors, formula determining the number of councillors. Global elections. The minister waits until in terms of Section 20 Municipal Structures Act. That's very important. Once as knowing that the authority, that is this independent authority, for purposes of election, after consulting IEC, Batoma would delimit the wards. Like one of the process. First, the minister will determine the formula, the councillors. How many councillors are going to be there? And then from there, we prepare the elections. I can see the elections saying, Risna, the wards, or they must delimit the wards. But you do that process as this authority, Independent Municipal Demarcations Authority, must do this process together with the IEC. Because you can't do elections in South Africa because IEC is the authority at elections, as Home Affairs is the authority on citizenship. So this demarcation authority will be the authority on matters of demarcation. But on elections, it must do it in consultation with the minister. The number of wards in a metro or in a municipality must be equal to the number of ward councillors. Only ward councillors say 11, but ward to 10. Something. So it's just an emphasis. It must be done in terms of Section 22, Clause 2, subsection 2 of the Municipal Structures Act. Then the criteria you determine the ward, the number of registered voters in each ward may not vary by more than 15% from the norm. Ne? So we know there's a norm. I'm sure Nklamulo will explain it better than I do. Nklamulo, maybe just note it, and then when you come, it's one of the points that perhaps you can speak more on it. In the past pre-interim, interim phase, you know, I remember, you know, the number of the people in the wards, you know, there should have been around 12,000 to 20,000, something like that. So what this says, it talks about variation. For that variation, yeah, the number of, I think the emphasis is on registered voters. It is not talking about the population in the ward. Because the population in the ward, there are 500,000 people. Oh, let's say, that is too much in a ward. Let's say 50,000 in a ward. Mara, the registered number of those people in that ward, ba IEC ba tshwereng ba registerile ngore ba voter ka local government wa kra maybe about 25,000. So one of the number that is emphasized is not the population in the ward. You may have a ward with so many people, but the registered number of the people in the ward, it becomes important. Mara Nklamulo ha itlhalosa le nna ka e rata o itlhalosa monate bjang. Right. So then we can do that, you see, by dividing what I itlhalosa Nklamulo ona mo. Communication and accessibility. Ra go Northern Cape in most instances when there are challenges. Really wanna go Northern Cape, ka di delimitations tsa di ward, ne? Because the land is vast, you may find ore pleke ke kulu mara ke ward e one, ne? Le mona le di farm rural communities. If you count people, there are not too many, but scattered. I think there's a ward, Ward 7 in Tshwane. It has got that element because it goes through the farms around N4. So it's vastness. The ward councillor, but I don't just a few because they stay in farms. So there are those kind of things. Imagine what there's a desert, ne? And then density of population as well, topography, physical characteristics. So it's a the map, the tower, the Kokai, rivers and what, so that we will access and communication. So we'll do that. The next one, public participation, again still, good determination of the wards and the municipal boundaries, the same process must be followed. Public consultation, you don't just do delimitation of the wards without doing public consultation. Invite the affected people in those wards, and then we a notice, proper publication, and then same thing that we did, the determination of municipal boundaries. You consider objection, you confirm or you vary, and then our publisher, our publisher your decision in the government Kuranta, government newspaper. And then the rest of this, because I'm now left with 2 slides, right. Municipal demarcations, independent municipal demarcations, appeals authority. After everything re-edits, act implement, determining the municipal boundaries, the wards the objections, the publishes everything. How if you are unhappy, you are not satisfied with everything that was done by this independent authority, the story continues for those who are unhappy, those who are not satisfied. We have this independent municipal demarcation appeals authority. Banal power, banal authority to deal with the appeal. When you appeal because of the reasons. You may say the process was not impartial, this and this happened, one member of our board, You see, you have all the reasons. Or you raise issues because you've got capacity within your ward committees. Then somebody, a planner, ne? A retired planner who understands the laws. No. This ward, this municipality, it's affecting the interdependence of communities. It is fragmenting the community. This municipality as is, haina infrastructure to deliver services. So what? All of these things. The objections will be looked at by a competent independent board. Board EU, the most important thing, the president can appoint the appeals authority. Leona, it has really more than 10 members, as we said, and then not less than 3. In this instance, 3, maximum is 10. So the appeal, it deals like all of these appeal processes, and then Leona, it must be constituted by the South African citizens. In this instance, there's a qualification, not just a South African citizen, but you must be a South African citizen who resides in South Africa. Agar na South African citizens who resides abroad, you must be living here. Bana ba hao ba tsena dikolo ko ntle ke South African citizens but living abroad, so they don't qualify to be in this. But they must have suitable this. So they must have superior knowledge, because bo lebella ditaba tse di lebelletseng ke di experts, ne? So that knowledge ya bona must be greater, superior than the experts. So that is the appeals authority. I don't want to get into that. I emphasize if there's a need. But the same as there's a term of office, Yabona, the term of office may not exceed 5 years, and then they may be reappointed again, but not for more than 2 terms. And then Lebona, there must be people of high stature, no questionable by integrity, and then they must also treat this process by in good faith. Now I'll go to get the last slide now. I'm summarizing. The authority, the last part, not too much, because I didn't want to lose. The authority, this independent municipal demarcation, conduct municipal capacity assessments. Going to get a slide some of them. Harnali di Municipal, really set up the Municipal. Now the authority, more in the lifespan of once he conducted capacity assessments. He conducted a capacity assessment. The functions, power style, the functions. Now, let's say Municipal. Le level la Municipal onale capacity, onale bukoni, onale the resources, onale people, human, financial, everything, the resources to perform these functions. Ne? The powers may be moved between the local and the district, depending on the capacity. Capacity assessments are very important in the life of a municipality. A municipality may be able to perform the functions at the beginning of the term, but during the course of the term, something may happen. But ISCO is relocate. It's all the effects mining, the mining towns, but it's all the mines. At the beginning, there were mines. It was able to do ABC3. Negra mining town grants. Negra this grants, Negra this. But now, 3 years later, the tax base is no longer the same. So the demarcation board, in the life of that municipality, at least once in that 5 years, conducted capacity assessments. Therefore, now we must ask, the capacity assessments, but as today, the capacity assessments may even tell the province, the national government, or rang a special grant ne, to compensate for the loss, yeah, the closure of mines, of the closure of the steel factory, of the closure of the agricultural, the farms and what, ne, the closure, yeah, maybe mass market, yeah, so all of these things are very important. But of importance, Kore, capacity assessments will tell the nation, will tell the president, will tell parliament, the executive authority, the minister, the MEC, whether this municipality has capacity or no capacity. And if there's no capacity, what do? Maybe we must bring in extra capacity to help the municipality. So I thought I should end with this one because it's the last slide. And thank you very much, Chairperson. I thought I should do the blow by blow. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to acknowledge the following. Contralesa Gauteng, Makos Siabonga, Lisedi Ward 1. Where is it? Dollar. Ward 32. Ward 3. Bakona Ward 3. Ward 10. Okay. PCO. Which PCO is this one? Oh, okay. We are too far from the people. Can you please join us? Ward 31. Thank you, welcome. Palm Springs, Ward 20. Thank you. Ward 25. Ward 25, Dololo. Mirafong. Thank you. Ward 34. Thank you. Mfuleni. Already still a Baham. Okay, thank you very much. Can you note whatever that you want to raise, questions, and also if you pre-read the bill, we'll want you to read what you are having, but also give us what you have written. Not now. IEC, is IEC here? IEC.
Can you check the national department first?
Okay, national department.
So they can make any additions.
Where is the speaker from the national department? Bahambi. Okay.
Is there it?
Oop.
Yeah, but he can say something on the department if he wants to add from what Minister Gekana said. The department, the national department.
How much will we saba makwala? Okay, come up front. You're from national. Come this side. Yeah. Can you also have the IC inside? Or by it?
AC won't say anything. They were just registering around to Bank. So they don't want to say anything.
Okay, nice, fine.
And then you can take questions after the...
Yeah. Press your mic and then you say whatever additions that you want to do. Start by introducing yourself, then speak.
Should comes in there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, Chairperson, as well as the members of the Portfolio Committee and the members of the public, as well as other civic organizations.
I'm failing to hear you. I wonder at the back there.
Okay. Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Nyamozo at the back.
Yes.
At the back, Nyamozo.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, it appears that it seems like they hear me at the back. Okay, no, thank you. In terms of the issues that, my name is Shlamolo Mwache, by the way, from the Department of COGTA, under the Functional Unit Municipal Demarcation and the Structures Act implementation within the branch called Policy, Governance and Administration. I think my colleague here from our provincial counterpart had covered a lot of extensive stuff in relation to the matters and various interventions that has been brought into the bill. But in essence, what I would like to indicate is that the various more interventions that has been brought in there was to try and maximize public participation in the demarcation process. You'll have seen we've had a lot of demarcation impasse ranging from those determinations that were done during the 2016 before the local government that were held in 2016. We've had a lot of protest emanating as a result of the communities registering their dissatisfaction in relation to those decisions that were made. So it was felt necessary that maybe perhaps a similar process that is provided for in the Systems Act, Chapter 4 deals with the mechanisms for public participation. So those were now adapted to the board itself to also conduct a similar type of public participation process while they redetermine municipal boundaries, including the ward boundary redeterminations. So in essence, part of those interventions were to try and maximize public participation in the process. But while doing that, you will see the bill itself is divided in various parts. But firstly, it starts about the governance and administration of the Municipal Demarcation Board. So it aligns the board now to the Act as well, because it is called an independent authority in the Constitution. So that was aligned as well in the bill, and to also align it that is an independent authority, such as some of those public institutions which are recognized in the PFMA, the Public Finance Management Act, to align that the board the authority includes the board together with its administration, and it manages its operational affairs, including the appointment of staff in the board, and also to be able to appoint committees, including those committees that can conduct investigations in relation to those municipal boundaries determinations. So it can now appoint an investigation committee to investigate and ascertain and see to it if whether such may warrant redetermination. It also conducts for capacity assessment. You will see that once the board previously determines municipal boundaries, Mostly, they would conduct capacity assessment as and when it deemed necessary. But now the Act compels the board to conduct capacity assessment in each and every cycle in the term of local government to ensure that that municipality is able to perform the functions assigned to the entity in terms of the constitution, and also to align its redetermination in terms of those issues that are provided for as part of the object of local government in section 152 of the constitution. So there's also various other elements there to also maximize public participation. The bill introduces the establishment of Municipal Demarcation Appeals Authority, which authority will look into those objections that would have been where community feels that such area may not be redetermined for various reasons. So that can be, it provides for appeal mechanism that can be registered with such an authority. Then that authority will look into those appeals and advise in terms of the way forward whether such decision may be reconsidered. There's also various aspects there, the inclusion of the traditional leadership from the local, from all levels, in terms of their participation in the municipal demarcation process, and provides further that the reasons for each the redetermination must also be published, and the MDB must provide reasons thereof as part of why such an area was redetermined. That was to ensure that the process is transparent and they are accountable in terms of those decisions that are made, and the community is aware of those. So my colleague here left one other issue that needed clarity. The issue
Tonto,
relates...
please. Let's hold off on that. Let's hold off on the food. The department must finish presenting. When I give the instruction, we'll do that, right? Let's be at the ready, but when we call for it, because otherwise we're going to disrupt the process. Don't worry, there is enough for everybody. It's just I don't want to do, out of respect also for the speaker,
Yes,
and for the process. So hold on to it, we are ready for you. Okay. But when I give the go-ahead, we can start, right? Just to manage it properly.
Okay, no, thanks, Chairperson. Yeah, the one other issue that needed clarity is the issue around norm. I think that was other part of the critical intervention that was made in the bill. This intervention in terms of variation of norm was to try to avoid the split communities, and that other areas that would have been affected by the municipal boundary change, which affects also the area of traditional leadership, that exceptional cases, in those exceptional cases, the board can vary by 30% from the previously 15% of the norm. So here it means that if a certain community, the municipal boundary change may affect a certain community or topographic area, such as roads, at point you'll find that a flat belongs or a house belongs in either part of the ward, in different wards. So to avoid that, the board is given now a leeway to try and adjust that municipal boundary by variation, but not more than 30%. So that was to try to avoid the splitting of farms, splitting of those critical areas of traditional leadership and for other various reasons within the identifiable boundary. I think, Chair, I've clarified those issues that have been raised. If there's any other issues that may come out as part of the questions requiring further clarity, we'll be able to come in and clarify those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lamulo. I know Member Ngube introduced or welcomed our stakeholders that are here. Thank you so much to the people of Lesedi, Palm Springs, Marafong, Mfuleni, Contralesa, of course. And I know we've had a quick discussion with the IEC. So we'll deal with the IEC after I hear from the community. Remember, our core mandate today is to discuss the bill. So I want to first hear from the community, have our discussion, then we can move to the IEC after that, because that's our secondary thing. I'm going to start by noting hands on this side of the table. So Ntlamulo and Kiba are also going to make notes. We're going to make notes. Everything that you say, we are going to take a record of. So the idea is that we will then put a report. We'll then go to the comrades in the NCOP and we'll say, this is what the people of Gauteng think about this particular bill. And then another reminder, you don't have to speak in English. That's why we all have the translation services. You can speak in any language that you are comfortable with. Also, if you're a bit shy, you can even WhatsApp us. You can even write it on a piece of paper. You can hand it to us. All of that counts because we want to make it as easy as possible for you to make your comments. So I'm going to stand up so I can see everyone. Mayor, you are included as a stakeholder today. So if it's okay, can I note you? I'm sure you'll have some comments. We'll note you first. Then I'm starting on this side of the table. Number 1, Youth League. Number 2, in the blue. Anyone on this side? Okay. Let me move to this side. Number 3, ma'am, in the front from Contralesa. Number 4. Number 5, ma'am, in the black hat. Anyone else? Number 7, gentleman in the beanie. Would you like to speak? Can I note you? Okay, no? It's okay if you're shy. Maybe when you're feeling less shy, I can do it. So now I've got 5 hands, or 6 rather. Does everybody know their number? Last call, just before I close this particular round. Okay. Mayor, we're going to start with you, and then we'll move over to number 1 over there. Thank you.
No, thanks, Chair, and let's welcome the presentation from the department as well as National Department of COGTA. And also maybe let's welcome the bill itself, especially where you are indicating that you are repealing and replacing a very old Act of Parliament of 1998 in terms of making provision for an appeals authority, which is something that most of us will have questioned previously as to why the Municipal Demarcation Board did not have an appeals process. And I will make reference why I'm raising this particular issue. There could have been a submission that we would have done as the Rand City with regard to Proteas land. Because when you look at Proteas land, in terms of its geographical place, it's necessary falls under the Rand City local municipality. But in terms of its demarcation, it's demarcated under the Johannesburg Metropolitan Council. We will have made a submission, but that unfortunate part, the MBD then will have ruled that Proteas land will remain under City of Johannesburg. Although there's Ward 17 in Rand City, which encompasses an area called the Water Works. That Water Works is basically a stone away from Proteas land, but it remained under Rand City, and we really appreciate that in your own indulgence and through the advice of the state law advisors, you could have made provision for inclusion of an appeals authority. However, as we were preparing for this public hearing, Chair, we will have picked up as a municipality that you are using authority and the board interchangeable. And we are not too sure whether, because of you are repealing and replacing completely an act of parliament with a new legislation, whether you did not necessarily use in some instances what we call cut and paste. Because in your own bill itself, you are making reference to an authority, but along the very same bill, you are then making an reference to a board. So if you can just give us clarity whether this bill seeks to create an authority or it seeks to create a board, so that we've got an appreciation. Because when our colleague from provincial department, when he was starting to present, he made reference to the independence of the municipal demarcation authority. But if you also look at page, just pardon me, I know that it's a bit of a number of chapters that you seek to replace and repeal. If you look at page 25, on the background, on the original bill itself, on the memorandum on the objects of the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill, you are clearly indicating on background 1.1 that this bill seeks to replace completely the Local Municipal Demarcation Act of 1998, which was then referred previously as the demarcation board in your own understanding and appreciation. But when you look at 1.2, in summary, you say the bill seeks to, and then you explain, and then you make reference to the authority, not necessarily to a board. But when you read through your entire bill, interchangeable, you are using authority, you are using the board. The second issue that we also wanted to make input to, and I think it's also our provincial colleague will have made reference to, there's an area where you are using the word must instead of using the word may, and you'll have an understanding of English that once we say must, you are compelled. You are compelled to for an example, in the bill there's a reference where you are saying the chief executive officer must employ employees. Now you are compelling the CEO, but you know with our current financial situation, there might be a situation where once the structure of the authority, if I might call it correctly, will agree on a certain number of employees, but there will be a process where the CEO might not be compelled to employ the entire 100% of the employees because of obviously issues related to affordability and many other issues that might affect the authority to employ the entire 100% of the staff. The last issue that I also wanted to raise, Chair, is in relation to the objects of the bill. Part of your objects, you are indicating that you seek to provide for municipal capacity assessments. Now, historically, in South Africa, if you can take it back before 2000, because there were two measures that would have happened. The prior Municipal Structures Act and the Municipal Systems Act, where it created the current local government legislation of 2000. You had over 800 odd municipalities. After the current Municipal Structures Act, we then reduced the numbers to a more manageable 257 odd municipalities. Hence, I'm making reference of the measures. Now, along the way, the previous demarcation board will have merged municipalities. However, when they merge municipalities, they don't take into consideration the financial viabilities of the municipalities. And it creates a problem for that particular municipality. Point in reference, Randwest City Chair is a measure of Randfontein and Western Area municipalities. But you will have taken two poor municipalities and merged them into one bigger municipal boundary, but without necessarily offering that municipality financial assistance to perform, which it creates a problem for local government itself. Therefore, it was going to be prudent that through your indulgence, that this authority, because of, you are correctly saying it's an independent authority, must also be given the powers and functions of making sure that by the time when they merge municipalities, there's also provision to make sure that the municipalities that they are merging have that financial viability to serve their own constitutional requirement on making sure that they offer the people of that particular municipality services. Let me leave it at that, Chair, and thanks so much.
Thank you very much to the Mayor. I think quite detailed. Before I open to the community, what I'd like from you, Mayor, and your team, is if you could submit something like this to us in writing. It doesn't have to be in-depth research, any of that, but just even if it's bullet points or high level, whatever, from you guys, because I think there are a few questions that will be responded to, but there's some key elements here, and we need to take it very seriously because this is a stakeholder who operates in the space. You know, more than we do. We deal with quite a lot of different things, obviously local government, but your day-to-day is literally this kind of work. So I would really appreciate that in writing. We've taken notes, but I think it will help us because it also means that when we go to the NCOP and we have these discussions, I don't know if the community knows, it's a little bit of a boxing ring when it gets to national, because as Gauteng will say, let's do this. Then another province, Limpopo, will say, no, we found that. Then KZN will say, no, we agree with Gauteng. Then Northern Cape will say, no, you're both wrong. This is what should happen. So when you give us the stuff, I can say, communities in Ratanda said this, and this is why it's important. The mayor himself and their team made this submission because this is what they deal with, and I like those specific examples. So, Mayor, please, we'd really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let me start with yourself. Number one, please introduce yourself, your name and where you are from, because that also helps us to respond, but it also means that when we capture your thoughts and your ideas, we do it correctly. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much. Very useful. I think number 2, exactly. Exactly. Sorry, my leader, please bring it, yes, closer. Thank you. Repeat, start your question from the beginning because we couldn't hear so nicely.
happen with the issue of those councillors as Sekwe-Wanwat. Then my second question is like a board, as ukhuluma board, how long normally, how long does the board sit? Maybe twice a month, maybe once in 3 months, all those things. Then when it comes to appeal board, appeal board, yona, how long does it take like to answer appeal when maybe a community has launched the appeal? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sue. Am I right on saying we finished on this side? We're coming over here? All right. So we've got the 2 speakers next to each other. You guys can share a mic. Then if we can get the next speaker to the lady with the black hat, if you don't mind, then we speed it up for us. Okay, then the other one is, she's sitting here on this left-hand side here with the hat.
Okay. Sanbonani, igama lami ngu Princess Palesa wakwaDlamini. I'm from Controlesa. Okay, I'm from Controlesa. I'm the deputy chair for a women wing in Gauteng. My name is Princess Palesa Kambule Dlamini. I've got 2 surnames. Firstly, I would just love to welcome the bill. And we also want to thank our presenter. He was very clear of how the bill we are supposed to either accept or not, but we are saying we are welcoming it. Well, I'm coming with, I don't know if it's a question that is right for this platform, but as somebody that is on the ground and being in many activities in the community, except the Controlesa part, there are many hats that I wear in the community. We've got a serious challenge when it comes to local municipalities. Our municipalities, they are forever changing after the votes. On the bill here, it was stating that when the mayor is coming, obviously they give the mayor the mandate for 5 years. But then what happens in that 5 years when you've got 3 to 4 mayors? And each mayor, whenever they come, it's like they are coming with their own mandates. The second thing is that the legislative, the local government, doesn't work together with the local municipality. We will receive a mandate from the local government. And then when now you are supposed to take it to your local municipality, you will be told that those ones, they are this party, and now us, we are this party. So we can't assist you. So there are many things that are affecting the local government in terms of service delivery that it's actually done through our government. I don't know the communication structure from the national to the local government and to the local municipalities, because there are so many projects that we have failed. There are 300 schools that are going to be closed down in Soweto. We brought a proposal that since the local government wants to change some of the areas into the industrial areas in Soweto, why don't we use those schools in terms of the industrialization around the township? And the local government said, that's a good point. Then you go to the municipality, listen, this is the plan. Can we change 1, 2, 3 schools and put people there in terms of changing it into factories? Because the electricity, the infrastructure that we're having in the township is actually good. We can put machines there. We can turn those schools into something else. Then the local government will say, the local municipality, where did you get the mandate from? You say from the legislator. They say, no, those ones are ANC. We are not ANC. Go back to them. So I was just asking that, can in this bill be some law that whenever in terms the municipality is coming, yes, we are voting, and yes, we choose whoever we want to be led with. But this motion of confidence, they are killing us. We are not able to deliver what we are supposed to be delivering to the people. Each and everyone who comes with their own mandate. So now, whatever mandate, the first one we have discussed with and you have agreed, immediately is out of the office. Now everything must start afresh. So I was just asking and appealing to the government, can the local government work with the local municipality? Doesn't matter what party it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just before we get the next speaker, it's actually a very good point. And I think, let me just quickly, before anyone else preempts it, the Gauteng-led government, I think because we have many metros, the most metros of a province in the country, we understand exactly what you're saying, Sis Princess, around the whole issue of coalitions. So there's two things that are happening, and Mr. Kiba may not speak to it in detail today, but we will come another time to explain. We are trying on a provincial level to pass a certain framework or regulations to stabilize coalitions. So it means that no matter who is in power, whoever the mayor is, we have service delivery. Because right now we know when there's this motion of no confidence, this one wants to be MMC, that one, etc., we know what happens. Our refuse is not collected. The sewers run in the streets, etc., etc. So as our own provincial government, through the MEC and his team, we're working on that. In fact, we had hoped to pass it earlier, but it's something that's there, and we must come again because the framework is there. We want to now test it with public participation. And the second thing that's happening, which is also very important, is the current Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, is actually leading a whole process around the country in which he's getting exactly what you are saying from all over the country. They are looking at developing long-term legislation. That means around the country, everywhere. There's going to be timelines in which you have to create a government. So say the election is today, 28 February. You only maybe have a month. I'm giving you an example. Right? It's not the truth, it's just what it might be. You only have a month in total before you must elect the government. So you don't spend all this time fighting as politicians. Your job must be service delivery. So that is something that's been worked on by the MEC Kumalo, who's shame is sick today. And we also have the Deputy President who's working on that. So we are hoping in the next year or two, hopefully, it depends on how the public participation goes, we want to pass that legislation because it's a crisis. And we'll tell you firsthand because this is the portfolio that deals with that. It doesn't matter which community we go to, we hear the same thing. That's why I wanted to address it now, so that in case anyone else in the community have a similar thing, we hear you. We're listening, but more than that, we will come to you with that regulation and that framework. And then let's get more in-depth discussion. Then I'm interested to hear what you think about what we're going to present. In fact, even your own ideas about how we stabilize local government. But I thought I'll just say that before we move on to the next speaker. Thank you. Ma'am, over to you. Yeah, it's my lady here in the front. No, number 2 is here, then number 3. Yes.
Okay. Good day, everyone. I am Nkosimabaso Ngomalo. I'm the chairperson of Women's Wing from Contralesa. I've got only 1 or 2 questions. Because now Gauteng got kings and chiefs and everything, the houses, the royal houses. So if the bill is amended now, so what's going to happen now if the houses in place, the kings are allocated in those municipalities? So is it not going to affect how we applied? Because sometimes it might happen that I applied for a COJ and you find out the demarcation now is moving me to a city bank, for instance. So is that not going to affect with this coming structure of Amakosi? And then number two, what I'm asking is that to avoid strikes and people not wanting to go to the next municipality, why don't we first start by fixing the municipalities that we have? Once they are fixed, all are in good order, then people will be glad to move to a well-functioning municipality. Other than, maybe I was in the COJ, it was working fine, we've got water, we've got roads and everything. And then they move you to Citibank, there are potholes and there are everything. And you know the municipality there is not working properly. So that is what is causing people to fight and causing strike, because of you moving me from the well-functioning municipality to the one that is not working. So what we need, firstly, all these municipalities must be fixed. Every infrastructure must be fixed so that it won't be a problem for anyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me take that third speaker there. Over to you, ma'am.
One, my name is Lydia Petwe. I'm from Hot 20, which is at Palm Springs. My question here is page 13, part 2, at number 26. It says here, the board may only be determined or redetermined a municipality boundary regarding to the categorization, amalgamation, boundary change, which affects the movement of more than one whole ward in municipality every 10 years. My concern here was that what about if the board can change that 10 years to 5 years, at least reduce that 10 years to 5 years? That is my concern, because I think 10 years is too much. And then here again, because of, as I come from Palm Springs, we hear that we are demarcated to city of Joburg, but we didn't have a public meeting to be told that where we are demarcated now. So my request is if we can be told in a public meeting, people to know that where they are standing now, because of we have just heard that from the media. And then since I came from Palm Springs, we are having 2 wards, which is Ward 43 and Ward 20. And we have 2 councillors. So I just wonder if we are going to be demarcated, what is going to happen with those 2 councillors? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just seeing if I noted any other hand on the side. See, I'm short, I have to stand up. Okay, I think I'm covered on the side. Am I right? Or did I note one more hand? Oh, sorry, I did note you. My apologies. The gentleman in the black beanie, black hoodie. It's a vibe. I know, I'm trying to be appropriate, but it looks cool. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Good day, everyone. My name is Wilson. I'm from Batanda. Yeah, my question is about...
Sorry, sir, please bring the mic closer. I think it's the shape of the hall. So if you don't put the mic so close to your mouth, we can't hear you so well.
Oh, can you hear me now? My question is about the conducting investigation of determination of the municipality boundaries. Ngokubuza la ukuthi ba investigate kanjani ilento ezenzeka la, and mostly ngizwe ubhuta khuluma nge-citizenship. Khona ama foreigners ashada bosisi bethu babapregisa bakuze bathola i-citizenship la eMzansi. Lento le isemthethweni na, ndubani obeke lo mthetho na? Ngifuna ukubuza lokho nje. I heard talking about citizenship. Ama-foreigners abhiza alanda abosisi bethu babapregisa ukuze bathole i-citizenship. E-Home Affairs babayenzele still ama-ID wala eMzansi. Kanjani? Umthetho lo noma nama-driver's license phezulu. Bawathola kanjani? Bashada abosisi bethu. Ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi semthethweni yini leyo qala. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wilson. I think, Mayor, you had one more just before we get the feedback. Mayor, just one, you forgot one of these questions. Then we'll hear from you, then I'll see if there's anything else from the community. Mayor?
No, thank you very much, Chair. I forgot 3 important issues that I wanted to check with our colleagues. But I'm a bit worried, Chair, I must indicate. And pardon me if I'm wrong. I don't know whether there are any colleagues from our state law advisors here, Chair. If not, maybe for future reference, Chair, we must not allow that we have a public hearing where we are dealing with a bill and we don't have state law advisors present. And precisely because I want to ask the following issues. Firstly, on part 2, on the composition of the board, you are making reference to qualifications of board members. And South Africa, we are a constitutional democracy. We respect the constitution of the country. And part of the constitution, we are promoting the Bill of Rights. Part of the Bill of Rights is that each and every citizen has got the right to participate in the democratic processes of this country. Now, if you look at the qualifications of board of members, you are too restrictive. You are too restrictive because you are not giving an ordinary citizen of South Africa to participate in their own affairs. Because you are outlining about 15 qualifications or so on that a person needs to possess to be part of the board. But we forget that the Bill of Rights, and for the mere fact that we are a democratic society, we also have an appreciation that there's what we call an RPL. I think this is something that through our own input to the bill, that you must consider that you must not be too restrictive as it refers to the qualification for one to be a board member. I might not possess a formal qualification, but I might have an experience as it relates to issues related to local government. Point in reference, a former councillor, you can't compare a former councillor to an ordinary citizen, disregard whether that councillor has got a formal qualification or not. 2, on the same qualifications in relation to what you made reference of those that might not qualify to be board members. On E, you are making reference to a person holding a political office. It therefore means those that wrote this bill are not inconsistent with the court judgments of this country. There is a case study related to the Municipal Systems Act that was adopted in 2022, where South African Municipal Workers Union would have taken government to court and they would have won through a constitutional court case where that Systems Act or that bill itself was restricting those who are holding a political office to be employees of municipalities, and some will have won that case. So this I was asking whether our state law advisors are here so that they can use a case study in relation to that court outcome. What will be the ramifications of this particular part 2, where it's also now restricting, because we must not open government for litigation that is unnecessary, because already, Chair, there's a court outcome in relation to restricting those that are holding a political office. The last issue that I also want to make, because I did not pick this up until I went through it. On the appointment of board members, much as we are appreciative of all the different stakeholders that needs to form part of those that will appoint the authority. Let me put it in a correct way, not board members, the authority. But, Chair, I've got reservations on the B, part of the appointment of board members, because it reads, after consultation with the President, establish a selection panel consisting of a judge of the Constitutional Court designated by the Chief Justice, who must also be, now the must part, who must also be the convener of the panel. What if there will be a litigation, Chair, on the bill itself? Now, the panel was chaired by a constitutional court. I made the reference that we are a constitutional democracy. The constitutional court is the apex court of our land. It means whatever decision that they will take, we need to make sure that we adhere to that decision. Now you find that the convener or the chairperson of that selection panel is a constitutional court judge. To me, it really does not make sense. So we just need clarity on that part. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you to the Mayor. I did apologize earlier. I'm feeling a bit sick, so sorry about that. If I'm not sounding or if I have that in my mouth, it's just for the throat. Nklamulo, Kiba, who wants to go first? We'll start with national, huh? Then we'll go to provincial. Okay, over to you, Nklamulo. Thank you. Shema, you squashed them. Must I get another space? Or you fine? See, I look after them. They can never say I don't. Even though we fight about other stuff.
No, thanks, Chairperson. I welcome the questions that are coming from the members of the citizenry as well as the municipality and other individuals. The first issues that I wanted to clarify is the issues that were raised by the mayor.
Klamulo, sorry, bring it closer.
Sorry, yeah, let me try
I think
to
the acoustics of the
put
venue
myself
make it
closer.
harder. Yeah.
Okay. No, thanks. Yeah, the first issue, indeed, because due to magnitude of the virus proposals that came into the bill, because initially we were looking at the amendment of the act, but because of the magnitude of the virus provisions that came in the bill, then we were advised that it must be repealed in its entirety because there's a lot of things that came in. If you compare this bill with that of demarcation, there's a lot of changes. But in terms of the authority, maybe as part of the background, the Demarcation Act of 1998 as it stands now provide for the board. So the issue there was a confusion because of, at point, it refers to the board as a board of directors. At point, it refers to the organization itself. So we were trying to clarify that the authority, as it is in the Constitution as well, equals to the board and the administration. So it's the institution itself, the authority. Then we still have the board. It didn't take away the board. Hence you see there's still inside the content of the bill, there's still provision of the board. The board is still there, but now the differentiation that is being drawn there is to insulate between the board and the administration. So there should be a different, whereas the authority encapsulates all. The issue where it indicates that the CEO must, maybe as well there to provide a bit of background. The Demarcation Act as it stands now provide for the managing manager instead of the CEO. And part of the issues, and to also guarantee the independence of the institution itself, it was made in the bill that it is part of those constitutional institutions that are provided for in the PFMA, and also to align that the CEO is also the accounting officer of the Demarcation Board. So also that it should not be compromised. We don't want a situation where the board appoints staff. That can be compromised. So there it was clarified that he must appoint the staff. It doesn't mean, of course, having due regard of the financial availability and the budget, but within the approved structure that the board would have approved for the demarcation board, he can fill the positions. That was to try to ensure that the board is not compromised to become a situation where in a municipality you find councillors getting involved in the appointment of staff. So that was to try and insulate that process. The other issues, the reference to capacity assessment, that consideration must be given to financial viability of the municipality. Yes, of course, I would like to indicate that part of the intervention there, when now the board being compelled to conduct municipal capacity assessment, was to try to deal with those financial viability aspects, that the board must make sure that it conducts capacity assessment, ascertain the financial viability based on the evidentiary information that is there for that municipality, whether it's able to deliver within its capacity the functions that are assigned to the municipality in terms of the constitution as well as the act itself. So that is to provide clarity in relation to that the board must always conduct, and to justify their decisions, it must be informed by a certain capacity assessment report. Not that putting two municipalities that are not doing well to form one municipality, it will just be creating a grave where that municipality will not be able to perform. But of course, the Act also provides for the minister to come up with the regulations. Hence, not everything would have been put there in terms of the elements of things that must be inside the capacity assessment reports. Those can be prescribed as part of the regulations in terms of what are the indicators that may be used to ascertain or to assess the municipal capacity to deliver its services. One other issue is about, there were issues that were raised. I think this one is about how board should be conducting their public hearings, which must include the provision of security services. At times they do include those, but that is not prescribed because I take it that is an operational way in terms of how the board, if it sees that there is a threat to such a public meeting, to include those. You see, even ourselves here, we don't have a security, I believe so. But because we didn't foresee anything that might be a threat, but it's not something that can be prescribed. It's something that may be thought procedural in terms of, based on the other extenuating circumstance that may be necessary. Other issue relates to the board explaining the criteria is also an operational aspect, but the Act compels the board to publish its intention when before embarking on any redetermination, meaning that they will publish the particulars of that redetermination and the intention thereof. So such information forms part of that notice or communication that would have been used. What happens if the two councillors belonging to a ward now, the two wards being combined? What maybe I should just quickly clarify the process in terms of the ward delimitation process. What happens there if before the ward is being determined, the minister for Cocter publishes a notice in terms of the Structures Act, Section 22. That notice determines the number of councillors that may be determined for each municipality, for each ward. Based on the same notice, which the MEC as well does publish a concurrent notice determining those number of councillors that may reside in each ward. Then after that process, the Municipal Demarcation Board goes in and determine wards. And those wards are handed over to the IEC, then IEC determines those voting districts in each ward. Then that's when we'll have the elections. Then after the elections of ward councillor, that is when the ward takes effect. So meaning that would have been clarified, that process would have been cleared before we have the election, because the ward would have been determined. So it will be known that this ward starts here and ends here, and political parties will assign their individual persons to contest in that same ward. So it's clear. It won't be like now having to demarcate ward, then it just takes effect now, then one other councillor must go out. No, it's not like that. It takes effect thereafter. Meetings of the board, one other individual has asked if whether the time frame in terms of how frequent the board must hold meetings. Yeah, that is not, you'll recall that when the Act, it's clear that it's an independent authority. So it determines its own procedures in terms of how it can hold meetings. And it does hold special meetings as and when necessary. So prescribing that will be to encroach into their operations. So they must themselves determine those time frames in terms of how they meet their own procedures. The provision of appeals, time frame in the appeals authority in terms of how it responds back to the issues. That is a critical input that perhaps there should be that time frame in terms of when it should respond when the complaints are lodged about dissatisfaction on municipal boundary. So, but I would like to indicate that the Act, some of these things may not reside in the main legislation. Remember, the Act guides, but there's also regulations that operationalize the Act. So those type of issues may be prescribed by the minister as she prescribed the operations in terms of how such committee may operate, to also include how terms that can be attended to. I'll leave this one about frequent motion of confidence and other, because my colleague will also deal with that as it relates to coalitions. But I also want to indicate that as a department, we are also in the process of coming up with certain amendments to the Structures Act. Part of that issue deals with dealing with the frivolous calls of motions of confidence that happens in most councils, in particular in coalition governance. So there are elements of the Structures Act that we are looking at in terms of how we can tighten governance in the coalition municipalities. It's still in the pipeline as I'm speaking now, that piece of legislation. It's serving in some other relevant governance structures. You will be able to have an opportunity to also provide inputs as that process arrives. The issue around starting by fixing a municipality, which I think part of the intervention to deal with the capacity assessment was to ensure that before the board determines a municipality must ascertain facts in terms of whether the municipality is able to deliver on the responsibilities assigned to such a municipality, just to try and avoid, not to make a demarcation as a resort to deal with service delivery issues. So we put that clause to ensure that it should be able to ascertain that, no, this municipality is not able to perform 1, 2, 3, and that information which the minister and the MECs and other institutions that are support sectoral departments are supporting a municipality on a certain function can see if they can assist that municipality if it's an issue of provision of water and other various aspects of service delivery that is being performed by the municipality. So the capacity assessment is mainly to ascertain which of the functions of the municipality a municipality is not able to carry out, and being supported before any type of redetermination may be considered. I would like to affirm that the main critical aspect here is that there's a need to keep communities intact, not by only always. I'm trying to respond to the subsequent question where it was indicated, why are we changing to indicate that it's any redetermination must be done within 10 years. Yes, the bill now provides for 10-year period for major redetermination to be undertaken within 10 years. Major is when it affects more than one ward. So if it's a major redetermination must be done within in a 10-year period, that was to try to avoid the frequent disruption in terms of the municipal planning, and also to ensure that the communities remains intact. You cannot always be redetermining municipal wards. You need to give time for major redetermination to be considered, at least in a 10-year cycle, to ensure that the communities remains intact. I'm surprised to hear that one of the member indicates that they got to know it through the media that a boundary has been redetermined. But I would like to indicate that before that process is prescribed even in the current Demarcation Act, it surely would have been published when the intention to redetermine that boundary was done. And MDB does also write and publishes several notices. I'm not sure, you may have missed that, but I do believe that it does that. But now that we are dealing with the part of public participation to ensure that information reaches everyone, the bill now tries to correct such type of issue where you just become surprised because things were communicated through some other electronic means. So communities need to be engaged, their views being heard, so that you don't get surprised when a municipal boundary is redetermined. The issue about the state law advisors, I do understand, but the state law advisors, we normally engage them when we develop a bill, it's subjected to Office of the State Law Advisor. Even when we incorporate inputs, it goes there to ascertain the constitutionality of the bill. Yes, of course, there are those bills that we do find out later. Others would have even passed by the President that there are certain issues that did not comply with the relevant provision of the Constitution, but there are those auxiliary people that are being consulted. Even this bill was subjected there too. Even Parliament itself has their own advisors. Even the legislatures at point does have those structures. So I was trying to attempt to, they're not much more into the operational aspects of the policy making process. They are vetting those issues after we've tabled that to them. Yeah, I think I may not respond much in terms of those areas around the holding of political office, but I know that the Constitution also have some limitation around the political rights, so that can stand to be tested. I'm not sure. I may not say much because at point it depends on how, but what I can say, the intention was to ensure that the board is not compromised by any political aspect. Imagine if someone is holding a political office and is dealing with municipal boundary determination, and there are issues around gerrymandering in the municipal boundary changes. So you don't want to see those gerrymandering aspects occurring in the municipal demarcation board, so to guarantee its independence. So I'm not sure it can stand. I believe that at point it might stand the test because it tries to ensure that the board remain impartial, exercise its powers without fear or favor or prejudice, and its integrity should not be compromised. The assignment of the judge of the Constitutional Court, if you see in other constitutional institutions as well that are prescribed in the Constitution, be it those Chapter 9 institutions, the similar type of appointment involves those. That's to ensure that there's sufficient oversight. There is that inclusion. So this was to try and have an alignment to those appointment criteria in terms of bringing in the judge of the Constitutional Court or the designee to be part of those interview process of members of the board. So that is aligned to other constitutional institutions. I think I may have covered most of those. I can hand over to my colleague to clarify some of the matters that I would have left out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and my partner in cooperative governance. Yeah. I think he covered quite a lot, but the issue around traditional leadership, traditional communities, I think the question was mainly how demarcation can impact on the recognized traditional community and recognized traditional leadership. I think these are part of those considerations during public participation. And I'm sure you can see, or the other new dimension is the inclusion, of the houses, the leadership structures of traditional leaders. So these matters will be taken care of, because I think it's in the interest of everybody, because we talk about principles or criteria, we say avoid fragmentation. Remember when you recognize a traditional leader in terms of the TKLA, Traditional Coalition Leadership Act, the first thing is bloodline, is customs, and the culture, practiced by that community. So nobody would unnecessarily get one traditional community with a recognized senior traditional leader let's put it into two municipalities. It causes confusion. Or you put it into two provinces, it causes confusion. So I think that aspect, these are the things that the experts will have to get to understand, because previously they were not so profiled. But in these circumstances, that is why the cocktail is...
Mr. Kiva, just a moment. To my community here on my left, there on the stands, I can hear what you guys are saying. So if I can hear it, it means everybody can hear it. We've got to respect the speaker on the platform. I know it's difficult, I know we're all a bit tired, but we're also trying to address community concerns that you've raised in the best possible way. So if you're going to be inside the hall, you're going to have to be quiet and respect the entire group of people who have also been here since, I would say, 9:30 this morning. Back to you, Mr. Kekana.
So the role of traditional leadership, I think, for the first time, it has got original powers from the Constitution. It's chapter 12 of the Constitution. So whatever we do it. Hence, I think the issue at the state law advisors. Everybody looks at whether we are not going against the Constitution. Because chapter 12 says you must restore the dignity and the institutions of traditional leadership. So that will be taken care of. And then just one aspect. I think in terms of the municipal boundary, that is an area where you see it doesn't necessarily say must. I think in the determination, when there could be potential issues that compel the demarcation board to deviate from the 10 years. If there's a compelling thing that can cause, remember we spoke about the effective local governance. It must enable effective local governance. If there's something that will impact negatively on that, the board will lose its own, discretion, powers as an independent authority to look at that matter through the board and say, re-look at this matter because its impact is causing havoc at that level. That is why it's not a must, it's a may. I think it's chapter 3, clause 26, somewhere there. I think it speaks of that matter. The issue of qualifications, I think we must look at it broadly against the Bill of Rights. It's broadly. For all of us, we qualify because we are South Africans. That's the first thing. But because every function or power that has to be exercised requires certain skills and possibly qualifications. That is why if we apply to become a CEO, we all qualify, we can apply. But there is a criteria everywhere. So I think it should be looked at in terms of that. Because this board is going to be performing specialized functions of demarcation. Maybe the argument, Chair, because this is something that I was grappling with, you generally do not have maybe a provision that allows people who are bringing in community activism. I think maybe that is the issue that could be explored maybe much more deeper. Because you see experiences of communities, community leaders, they help quite a great deal. Because sometimes when you do things, you miss out on this community power. Maybe it's something that perhaps even from the department side, because we have already made our inputs as a departments to the bill. Maybe it's something that we'll look at as a province, as COCTA, just to look at this aspect. But for any appointments to a particular specialized field, there has to be a criteria. And I think that was done within that context. And Chair, just to emphasize your point, we are already in communication. We have already exchanged documents and notes in terms of the legislative framework so that it's not a competition between national and province. Because coalitions affect everybody else, then it would be nice if there's a national framework that provinces are consistent with. But the beauty of it, the study that was presented to the portfolio committee, adopted by the executive, that we did in the province, 99.9% of those aspects are the core of this draft legislative framework around the management and stabilization of coalition governments. So I think we did something extremely okay in the province. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much to Mr. Kekana, and I want to say Mr. Nhlamulo because I sometimes pronounce your surname incorrectly. Matie. Okay, not bad. Right, I know everyone's a little bit agitated, but I don't want to suppress. Is there any other point on this particular bill from our community members? Anything you want me to ask as a follow-up, any comment you want to make? Again, well, let's start it on the side to be different. Number one, it's okay to be covered, number one. Number two, gentleman there at the back. Okay, so let's stick 1, 2, 3, sir. I've made you number 3. There was another speaker here. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Gone. I'm going to take these 3, then we hand back, and then we can move with swiftness. If the IEC person can start making their way to the front, that will also be good. Thank you. Ma'am, you'll remember to introduce yourself for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Princess Bongi Mukwena Kamzilikazi, Umzilikazi Kamashobane, Ungwane, Uzikote, Umtagomnyamo ngevanesepu. Thank you so much. We welcome the bill. I am the chairperson of Icontralesa Women's Wing COJ. We welcome the bill. I have a slight concern, but firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Mayor because I'm from Ward 135, which is Protea Glen, one of the biggest in COJ. In Protea Glen, we have about 54 extensions from extension 1 to extension 54, so it's very big. We have witnessed a lot of things that come with demarcation. I will mention, let me say one, which I think is critical. When they do demarcation, I'm not sure if they do a thorough analysis on what the impact will be afterwards, because we saw that when it was time for the elections, at one point, the community members were told that are staying in extension 13, that now they will have to go and vote in extension 16. And now for them to go to the voting station, they need to go there. They can't walk, it's a distance. They need to take a taxi, and you find that people now don't go to vote because they can't. Yeah, they don't have transport money, or it's far, it's raining. But these things come with a lot of work, because I guess that is change. But I think they need to look into it. My concern is this. South Africa as a country, South Africa is a country, but we don't have a name. When you look at South Africa, it's like a direction. We are in the southern part of Africa. How come, guys? We understand if this is happening in a province, Uguti in the Eastern Cape, it is in the eastern part of Cape Town. But for a country not to have a name, please, can you escalate it to the relevant people? I'm not sure if you guys are dealing with such, but that was just my concern. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get the gentleman number 2 in the blue and white shirt?
Thank you. My name is Fusi. I just have one question in terms of these municipal demarcations. I just wanted to know the effect that the demarcation would have on the municipal grading. Would it be a separate process, or is it automatically addressed at that stage? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And let me get my last speaker. Don't forget to introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Lefakali. I'm from Run West, Zerebokong, Ward 17. I'm supporting the mayor. Whatever the mayor was saying, that was, I think the mayor is my photocopy. And then can I ask, or can we write our submission direct, like the mayor was saying? he write a submission and then he submitted. Okay, thank you.
Yes, so we are still open for public comment or submissions. So you can send us an email, but you can also, I know sometimes it's easier to send a WhatsApp. You're also welcome to do that. That counts as public participation. And we would absolutely love that because, you know, comments in writing are easier for us to capture because then we get exactly your words of what you want to say and how you want to say it. So at the end, you see Jabu on my far right hand side in the nice pink Makoti duk. Yeah. Yeah, we'll ask her. She's the person you get her details from, but I'll also ask Jabu, maybe just put up your email on the screen for everybody to see. So that anyone who wants to, yes, and also for the WhatsApp, then anyone who wants to do it or might miss you, then they can get your details from there. All right. Thank you. Anything now from our responses here? There's about 2-3 questions. Well, 2 comments, 1 question.
Thanks, Chairperson. The issues that were raised, yes, I understand, are much more technical in terms of the work of the board. I mean, the issue in relation to the distance between the voting district, and those are the... Okay, no, thanks. What I wanted to indicate is that the issues that have been raised by the chair here of Contralesa are issues that are technical, hence, whereas they must be taken into consideration by the board while determining a municipal boundary. Issues of the topographic as well as the geographical settings of such municipality, those are the issues that are prescribed in the Act that they need to be taken into consideration when a municipal ward boundary is determined. So I understand we have those in other areas, but those are the issues that the board itself, with us we process the legislation. But the board is the one that does the actual work in terms of ensuring that those factors that are prescribed in legislation are taken care of. Issues about the impact of municipal boundary into the grading of the municipality. Yeah, I would like to guess that maybe the member that raised this question could probably be a councillor or working in a municipality, but just guessing. Yeah, incidentally, I'll respond to this according to my thinking because when you redetermine a certain boundary, obviously it will affect the revenue collection. So while it affects that either positively or negatively, depending on the nature of that particular section of the society that is being integrated in the other municipality. So there may not be a yes or no, but one way or the other, incidentally, as a consequence of the redetermination, there will be an effect in terms of those. If it's a measure at point, it takes a certain town to a city. We have seen other municipalities forming part of the a metropolitan municipality, which didn't necessarily affect that municipality. If you take Naledi in Free State, it was just a municipality falling under Mangaung, so it didn't substantively, it didn't change the grading of the municipality. So I can say incidentally it can, but at most it's unlikely that it can change that, because the grading is also determined by the total size of the municipal income. So sometimes it's just a minor adjustment, may not necessarily have a huge impact in terms of the municipal income. It's yet to be tested, but I would like to believe, based on my understanding, that it may not have that impact. Because also, looking at most of municipalities that were redetermined previously, the grading was likely, I don't recall of those that have been affected in terms of their grading, in terms of the grading system that is being applied. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Okay. Community, I think you've heard some of the feedback from the department, both nationally and provincially. Of course, this is not something we're going to solve now, right? These are issues and concerns that you've raised with us that we're going to collate and we're going to put into one document. We have another public hearing after this, not today, it's actually tomorrow. We chose to do a few physical ones like this, and we're doing one virtual one, because not everybody can come. You know, some people are at work, some people belong to organizations where they can only give us 20 minutes of their time, so it's easier to do virtual. We're going to take everything that you've said, everything that everyone says, everything, sir, that you're going to submit on written, everything, we're going to put it into a nice document. We'll then, as a portfolio committee, also discuss, because when you raise issues, it makes us think about other things as well. We're going to come back. There's a few other things we identified. We'll have another meeting with them privately. And then we're ultimately going to get what we call the negotiating mandate. Now, that basically means this is our mandate from Gauteng that we're going to send to the NCOP, and we will take it, myself and the permanent delegate, and we'll say, this is Gauteng's view on the bill. We support the bill, but these are a few changes we want to make. Then each clause, literally, it's going to go, the meeting will go clause 1. What do you guys think? Clause 2, all the way down. And each province will give their view on what they think works and what doesn't work. Then we have another last opportunity, us, to do a bit of changes before we submit what we call the final mandate. That's the final document and report we submit. That's actually the one where we discuss each clause and we agree or we vote on each one. Ultimately, some of your thoughts and views could likely come out in this bill when it becomes an act, because we are taking everything and we'll submit it. And then after all of that, it goes to the National Assembly, National Council of Provinces. After that, the president, it goes before his desk. His team is going to go through it, the executive, and then when he signs it, it becomes a piece of law. So that will take some time. It's going to take a few months, but we are pushing from our side. We want to pass this thing as soon as possible because we want stability in our process of how we decide which wards are which wards. Because many people have mentioned it. If you have the ward cut in half and you live on the other side, but now your VD is far away, but what does that mean for service delivery also? If you need to go to the local clinic, and you guys know this happens, even though they shouldn't, they'll tell you you're not in the right area for the local clinic. Even though legally they can't do that, by the way. Legally, no public clinic can deny you care. But sometimes it happens because they'll tell you you're in a different area. So those are things we want to bring an end to. I know you are very hungry, so what we're going to do is I've asked the team to bring in the food. We're not leaving, we're treating it like a working lunch. I know members, shame, I do that to them all the time. You eat while you're working at the same time. So we're going to do a working lunch. The food's going to come in. I know it's going to be a bit disturbing, but please try and keep it, the noise levels low. Then what we're going to do is get the IEC. They want to talk to us very quickly. That's the guys who run the elections. They're independent. But it's very important that we hear what they say. Why? Because we are voting. All of us in this room are going to vote on the 29th of May. So let's hear what they have to say. Then we'll quickly summarize and close. So we're at the tail end, but I've asked them to bring in the lunch only if we are a little, we just understand with each other, because I know you're hungry, but I also can't just close the meeting. We need to finish it properly. So with that, I'm going to welcome, let me first thank the departments, apologies. Thank you to both the national and provincial department. Let's give them a round of applause. They were very patient with us. And then in the meanwhile, can I get the IEC representative to come up, also sit in the same location, and then they can present to us on the IEC presentation. I don't see the IEC. Oh, sorry, come this side, then you have space. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm short. Please do join us. And then I don't know if you'd be open if anyone has any questions. Great. Perfect. So you'll introduce yourself, ma'am, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bahlali. Good afternoon, community. Greetings to the chairperson. All protocol observe. My name is Mpiteng Buthelezi. I'm a democratic educator, facilitator for Lesedi. As we are all here today at Lesedi, so it's our mandate that whenever the community is gathered, as IEC, we come and encourage you about what is going to take place. As we all know that the voter roll now is closed, the president has proclaimed the date of that on the 29th of May we are voting, we are casting our vote. What we are saying as IEC through you, Chair, is that there will be a massive and a good voting this year, whereby we'll be issuing 3 ballots per person. Umuntu nomuntu zothola ama-ballot amathathu. So you'll be voting and casting your vote, and it's your right. You must do it. It's your democracy. You must own it. One will ask, what are the names of those balloting? The first one, it will be a national ballot, where you will be casting your vote. The second one, it will be a regional ballot, whereby also there will be independent candidate this year who will be standing up so that you can vote for them. The last one, which is the third one, balloting, is a provincial ballot. So as community, you are encouraged that go and participate. It's your right. Wherever you are staying, Heidelberg, Ratanda, West Rand, go and participate on that day so that you show that you own this democracy and it's yours. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so are there any questions, right? Now is a nice opportunity because you've got the IEC here, the guys who run the election. So if you have any questions, I'll note your hands. If you have any questions about your address, how do I vote, what, you know, it all comes up. And it comes up a lot just before registration. So I'm going to note your hands, then I'll give them an opportunity to respond. I'm going to note you as number 1, sir. Okay, I've noted you number 1. Anyone else on this side? Remember, I can't see you now, so maybe just stand up so I can note you. If there is someone on my right-hand side, this side. Okay, I don't see anyone. Ma'am, I'm noting you as number 2. Number 3 there at the back in the sporty. Anyone else on this side? Anyone there at the back who wants to ask the IEC a question? Or maybe you have a clarity or comment for the IEC? Okay, I saw someone right at the back in the cap. Is that a hand? Okay, so I'm making you number 2, right? So 1 and then 2 at the back, then 3 and 4, so it's easier to note. Right, and then remember again, please introduce yourselves for us one more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session. I will introduce myself again. My name is Usiso Kumalo. I'm from West Rand in Rand West City Municipality. Last year, ma'am, from IEC, we were having a situation of by-elections in Ward 17. So in my surprise, I found that there are some people who were registered for by-election. But when they come to vote, they were told that no, they were registered nationally. So I want to know, Uguti, on that situation, IEC isebenza kanjani, or do you ask a person if uzobhalisa ukuvota, or you just assume as IEC to say lo simchiftela kuma local or kuma national? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, excuse me for my voice. I'm Song Command from the West Rand, Ward 7 in Merafong region. My question was to the IEC. Last time we experienced a very serious challenge from the IEC, where people registered to vote, and the time we're supposed to vote, they appeared from other wards which they did not register to. So now I was asking if this time is it not going to be a challenge? And my second question is, it's actually I want you to clarify what you've just said. There are 3 ballot papers, which one is national and 2 is regional and commercial. I really did not understand that. Because asna provincial paper.
Thank you very much.
Sanibonani futhi uPrincess Palisa wakambule Dlamini from a controller Gauteng. My question ku IEC, we know that we've got challenges ukuthi the community itself ayisafuna ukuvota, and we are out there, we are trying so hard ukufundisa nathi abantu on the ground the importance of voting. Now, registering date seyivaliwe, and then ngapha sibhizi sigqugquzela abantu ukuthi bahambe bayovota. Now my question ukuthi uma umuntu angazange register and seke baya decide ukuthi mina hayi ithi ngihambe ngiyoperforma i-right yami, ikhona i-chance labo bantu na? Are those people going to be welcomed or not? Because we must not forget ukuthi indaba ye-vote nje iphelile ebantwini, abantu abasafuna ukuvota, abafuna nokusondela emavotini. So ngicela ukwazi lapho ukuthi njengoba ni IEC manje, are you looking ukuthi ngelanga lokuvota you can expect other huge numbers abanga-registang? Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much. And then the last person's right at the back on this side. Yeah, his hand is up there. Then I'm going to just see if members have any questions as well. Then I'll hand over back to you. There's one more.
Sanibonani. Igama lami nguSiphiwe Innocent Mloyi. I'm a member of the community la eGathanda. So my question to the IEC, actually it's more of a clarification that I'm trying to get. So IEC is an independent organization, independent of the current presidency or any other organization that they're working with, right? So I'm quite confused if you as the IEC still need to get a family, I don't know how to put it, but you still need to know to get the go-ahead from the president to say he's the one that's setting the day for the elections. So how does that sound as independent if you still need to get clarification or confirmation from a leader of an opposition party in terms of which is the leading party, I mean, sorry. And another question, I don't know if it's still a question too, but last time I was at the voting district, I overheard a conversation between two politicians. So they were stating that if you register to vote and then you end up not being able to pitch up at the voting district or voting station at the set date, your vote, they say it automatically goes to the the party that is in power at the moment. So is that true or is that not? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to check, because remember the IEC is separate to us. So we might have questions ourselves. Members, I think Member Ngube, you have a question. So we'll have yours, and I also have a question.
Ngiyabonga ngibingelele ma presenters IEC. I just want to emphasize on the question of those that get displaced. Tina will say that displaced by the IEC. So whether they're displaced by the IEC or by the demarcation, we get blamed as people that are from the ruling party. People blame us and they become very angry. I want to make an example with what happened in 2021 local government elections. When we are monitoring the voting districts, we find a lot of people being chased out or chased away and told, no, this is no longer your VD. Your VD, for instance, in Diepsloot, I was deployed in Diepsloot that time. In Diepsloot, you find people placed at Bramley. You look at the distance of Bramley and Diepsloot. You ask this person, have you ever worked in Bramley? No. Have you ever stayed in Bramley? No. And it then confuses you and it confuses the person, how do I get to be placed in a voting district of Bramley? They become so angry. They nearly beat us up. The second one is that when we are doing that, you see everyone still there in the legislation, whether amended or what. The question of if I voted or if my VD is Mondio High, and now I am in Sentin, or not far, let me say in the next VD. To say, should I have to inform the IEC prior to the voting day? Because we usually know that when it is national elections, as long as you are in the jurisdiction of a province, then you are allowed. But there's this thing that kept on popping out when the bill when the legislation was amended. I'm not sure they're still there or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I also have a question. I'm just going to stand because there's something I want to also say. It's also a bit of a follow-up question to what Member Ngube said. So when I was doing voter registration work, a lot of people asked me this, so that's why I want to ask it for the community. Similar, say I voted here in Ratanda Community Hall. This is my VD. Now, I voted the last time. Can I vote in a different voting station in Gauteng with all 3 ballots? Right? So what I'm asking, so the community understands, you know how you register maybe at the local school or the local whatever community hall, that's where you normally vote. And then sometimes, you know, you're working, it happens. You know, you're on the other side of Gauteng or you are in Joburg, let's say you are working in Sandton, in town even. Can you vote in that voting station in town, even though you are registered here? Because why? This is not a local election. Remember that, guys. You're voting, and it came up in the question, you're voting for province. You know, the Premier, Panyaza Lisufi, you're voting for the province, and you're voting for the national, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Those are the 2 things you're voting for. So we're not voting for local councillors. We're voting province, which is where we are, and national. So that was my first question to the IEC. And just before we get to the IEC, I want to do an exercise. Can I see something? Everyone who's registered to vote, please put your hand up. Those who are registered to vote. Okay, can someone take a picture? Team, Jabu, take a picture of this. This is very important. Those who are registered to vote, hands up. I like this. We're taking a picture. Tell me when the picture, keep it up, keep it up. Keep it up, I know. Keep it up. We're waving. Okay, round of applause to yourselves for registering to vote. Okay. Any other question to the IEC? Any other question? Sir at the back, sorry, it's important. I want everyone to be clear by the time they leave the hall how it's going to work. Number last one, number last one, number last one. I've got 2 number last ones. We'll start, where's the mic so I see where you are faster? Let me see where the mic is. Ish. Okay, let's start with the gentleman here at the back in the cap. You can stand up for me, sir.
Greetings to everyone. Honorable Chairperson, I firstly wanted to actually hit you with what I'm about to say. The first thing is that, Chairperson, we have our elderly people here who some of them are on medication, and there was no provision of water to those elderly people who are here. Some of them, they are not comfortable with drinking cold drinks. That's the first point. So on the issue of logistics, please, if ever there's someone that needs to be blamed for that, let us hold that person to accountable. As much as we are saying we are in government, let us lead by example. That is the first issue. My question to IEC, it's straight and clear. Now, on the issue of employment, I'm talking as a leader, a community leader from a certain area called Zirbekom, Ward 17. Now, on the issue of employment, we always have this issue of saying, when you go to seek employment, especially for our young people, IEC will tell you that you only want experienced people. For example, my sister, I don't know, she says I forgot the position that she's holding. Yes, we understand that she's the first person to be at the voting station. Now, on the issue of employment, we have this issue of having, let's say, the coordinators from IEC sharing the links to people who actually worked for IEC before. Now, as much as we want to encourage young people to vote, we must actually give them something in return to say, as the IEC, I understand that IEC is not a political party, and IEC is not, accountable to the government in any other way. But all I'm saying is, as much as we are saying youth development, let IEC give work opportunities to our people. Let not only be for 2 days when you are doing registrations, only maybe for 1 day when you are doing elections, but maybe on a monthly basis, let IEC advertise its post. And then as much as IEC says you must first create your profile, you must first do an online course, you must get the certificates in order for you to be employed by us. Let us have that thing of saying, IEC, have that community development workshops where you actually invite people who like to work for IEC and give them the facilities and the equipment to actually do those online courses. Let not only be when it's time to vote, when it's time for elections, then IEC says you must come with those certificates. On the other issue, on employment, can we please have not only those with matric to be working for IEC, understanding other expenses. Most of our young people, they don't have matric, especially when you look for them, when you want to employ them for permanent posts. Let us also have that thing of having the grade 11 criteria to our youth who actually would like to work for IEC. I don't know if most of the room is hearing what I'm saying, because I hear there's a lot of noise. Chairperson, the meeting is yours. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. A future leader here, a current one, I hope. On that issue, let's speak offline afterwards, because water is a big one, and let's talk offline after this about that water issue. Let me get number last.
Good day again. I only have one question. I just want to know that online registration for IEC is still open or what?
And then IEC, just before you respond, I'm putting one more question just in case it comes. Let's say I didn't register now, because this is a question that comes up a lot, but I voted before. am I still registered? Maybe to explain that to the community. You don't have to register each time, but you'll explain that to our community, right? I'm handing over to the IEC. They're going to explain all of our questions. Thank you. Maybe you must stand up. Sure. You know, distracted.
Okay. My voice though. Okay. Oh my God. Right.
Do not use this one. Use this one. So you
Yes.
stand this.
Okay. Because I've got a disability. Sanibonani bahlali. Sanibonani bahlali ninjani? Igama lami nguMbali ngwakamzizi ngiyidef la eIEC said. So ngine disability I be too audible. Please don't mind it. As long as I can try to pass the message through. I will try to answer you as best as I could within the scope of my position. All the other questions, you can call the IEC office. You can walk in and ask everything that you need clarification on, if you don't get whatever it is that I'm saying. So, I'm going to try and attend the first questions. Ega buti bekakhuluma ngama by-elections, and then azange akhona ukuvota, kwathiwa uzovota after on the national ones, okay? I'd like to apologize, firstly. Issue yakhe bekumele kube yi-office edila nayo appropriately the way they should. Remember, ama by-elections silawayana we choose amongst us locally which candidate do we want, which parties and all those things. Ukuthi sifuna kanjani. So, ama party agent wethu, they are in the know ukuthi ini kanjani, because these workshops, they are trained like us, they attend ama workshops just like us. So, ezinye izinto, if you don't understand them, don't hesitate to ask them because they represent you, angitho guys. So they should be in the know ukuthi how do you handle whatever. If une grievance nani ukuthi no, you were not treated okay, we are officini, or you talk to your political party. Right. So this is done because of tina si impartially, si fair, imandate yethu transparent. Amongst that, ngicela ukuphendula nobhuti bekakhuluma angazi uthi i-political affiliation, or if the IEC is one other party, and I'm going to try to answer that person as well. From the term impartial, from the term fair, from the term transparent, i-IEC imandatiwe for the whole of South Africa. If I have to make an example, if we were to be favoring one other party, there will be unrest. So we are governed by a democracy under a constitution. That's how we partake. Don't be misled. Don't promote a propaganda. Don't be confused, because there's a lot of confusion out there. I hope upendulekile ubhuti nalo wama by-elections. Okay, in terms of a ballot, ama ballot lawa I3, when you enter a station, enye nenye izobe ibhaliwe imakhiwe, you won't get lost. There's a ballot issuer there, there's a PO ozokusiza ukuthi what is what. Ama box mawa I3 aya iyamarkwa so ukuthi this is for ballot, which ballot, this is for which ballot, this is for which ballot. You won't get lost. And which one? Okay, the one from ama chairperson wethu, uthi can I vote in a different voters district? Okay. We are encouraging ukuthi where you registered, you vote there. Should there be any change, ukuthi you've changed addresses, you go notify IEC ukuthi I've changed where I live now, because Sizamani, you are within the proximity of where you live. You won't have logistical issues, you won't have unnecessary to avoid a complication. Now, according to, within the scope of what I know, if you want to vote, you live here in Ratanda, you go to Tsakani, for instance, which is not your voting district, not your voting station. This is what needs to happen. If we ask Gutuzobungeko, there's special votes. Please apply in advance. You can do it as soon as when will you be able to apply, or you can go to the office. Now, on the issue will you be issued with 3 ballot papers or what? We take your ID number, we punch it on the VMD. The VMD will automatically tell you that this person belongs to another voting district. So, according to demarcation, years or shugut, okay, utola 2 or utola 1 ballot paper. So, ultimately, if I were to go to vote to East Senton, it's national, as provincial, maybe say local. Because I'm not from that voting district, it's possible that it may issue me with 2, because I'm still in Gauteng and it's a national thing. So it is of importance that whenever you know you're not going to be near where you live, you change your addresses or apply for special votes. I think I've covered that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll be covering some of the questions that were asked through you, Chair. All right, one question was saying, is the registration closed now that we're about to vote? The registration for the upcoming national and provincial election, it is closed here in the VMT. Like the registration week, it won't happen. But the registration online is still open. But now that the president has proclaimed the date, remember when the proclamation is done, the voters' roll is closed, Bahlali. Meaning when you are applying online, you are applying for the upcoming municipality. And online registration with IEC is an ongoing thing. But once there is a proclamation, it's whereby you know that you are no longer going to fall below voting the Soskati. Instead, you will be carried to the next one. Meaning, if you are not registered, that's why we encourage community that if it's a registration week, go and register yourself. Go and check yourself with Uguti. Are you still voting in that station you used to vote for? Because remember, when the demarcation board demarcate that this VD is now at Ward 3, there's nothing we can do. We'll move people to that side. So on a registration week, that's why we emphasize as IEC, go and check yourself, take your smart card or your green barcode and check it whether are you still there. Because remember, your democracy, it's your own. You own it. You are the one who must stand up and go and check with IEC. And then, secondly, there was a question that, indeed, in the past, last elections, also IEC, our senior manager, they did apologize about that there was some confusion within the VMT, the system that we are using. And they did apologize to that. And this year, as IEC, we are ready. We saw it in the dry run, we saw it in the registration. People were coming, they were told where they are going to vote and their voting district. Because yes, indeed, some of the voting stations have changed due to demarcation board that they've allocated. Ne? So, I'm moving to this one of the voting. I think Chair did ask it, Guti. Do I vote even if when I didn't check? Yes, you once registered in 1990 for the voting. You are in the voters' roll. But the problem will be, is your voting station still the same one? No, because they demarcate, remember. When they demarcate, our locations are extended. Like in Obetingkos here in Ratanda, even if here in Heidelberg Road, there is a border there. So that's why we emphasize community that go and check yourself. Yes, you are in the voter's roll, but your voting station, because come the voting day, remember we are saying you will be voting where you are registered. And if you are going to vote where you are not registered, there is a section 24 that you are filling prior to the election. That on this day, I won't be here. I'll be in Eastern Cape, so I need to vote 3 ballot. Then you will get that.
So I live here, but I work in town.
And then if you are in Gauteng and you want to vote, you are here in Gauteng, but you are staying in Ratanda, now you are in Springs, then you want to vote. Yes, you can vote, but what that you need to know is to fill that section 24 prior, that before. Because now you know your schedule that on the 29th of May, I won't be in Springs, I'll be in Johannesburg. You go to any IEC office and apply for that one. And say, on this day, I'll be here. Remember, the balloting, they are counted, Batlali. In the voting, let's say maybe in the VT 27, they are balloting that will be sent is 1,000. If the chairperson is coming on that day and say, I'm gonna vote here, where will he get that balloting? So that is wise that we are telling you that apply prior, because we know we move as people. So you must apply prior so that they know that, oh, in that voting station number 27, we must send extra 6, because there are people who apply to vote there, and they'll be getting those 3 balloting because of what they've applied prior. But if you are not you did not apply and you want to vote in the station where you are not registered, unfortunately you are not going to exercise your right. And who to be blamed is not IEC but yourself. Remember, there were registration last year and there were registration earlier, the last one in February. So you are the person who is responsible that I won't be here, then let me go and apply for this.
And then section 24, I have to go to an IEC office, or can I get it on the website?
Yes, you can get it to IEC, and it's also on the website that you apply it online. Same apply with a special vote. For a special vote, for any person who is not well or an official who will be working on that week, you can apply for a special vote. Whether you will be voting at home or you'll be voting at the station. The special vote will be announced. It will be open on the 15th April. But the community will be told. The TV will also display that on the 15th, the special vote is opening. People can go and apply there. Thank you.
I'd like to attend one last question, the one for employment opportunities with IEC. If I remember correctly, Uput Begati only people with experience. There's no such a thing because you apply directly on the website of the IEC. I was employed there ever since I can remember. I applied there, and every time I have to reapply. It's not an automatic thing that I get employment there. The most important aspect is that I always keep my registration details updated because it's one of the selection criteria. I don't know how they came up with it. I just know I have to be registered. So my advice is that to the youth, be registered, apply online. There's no conspiracy, you just apply and they take you. So obviously they can't take the whole of South Africa. So I unfortunately, I don't work in HR with them. I don't know the criteria really, but all the opportunities are there. We apply. Even as devs, it was advertised, we applied, we got in there. Thank you.
Another one that Honorable Mamnube asked is that when they change the voting station, is it IEC or is it Demarcation Board? It's not IEC, ma'am, Honorable. It's the Demarcation Board. When they demarcate, they just put a border. And then on the registration week, it's whereby we see that now we have a new voting station, is this so and so number. Now we have another one here and here. So the demarcation board allocate the VD. Then the IEC, they just follow the procedure of registering and also indicate to community that you are no longer voting at Tswele Pili, you are now voting at Ratanda New Hall. Thank you.
Okay, right, very quickly, I'm going to hand over to Member Ngube. Guys, these things have to stay with us. It's not going to work on your phone, it's not going to work on your TV, the headphones are not going to work. It's old technology. So please leave it with us, because we need them for our public hearings. Remember, just as you used it to understand, we need our next community to also use it to understand, and we don't have the money to replace these. So please, 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 if you know anyone outside who didn't leave it, go fetch them. It's not going to work on any other device. Trust me, we've tried. Just to test it, we've tried. So guys, can I do a quick thing I want to tell you? You heard what the IEC said, right? You have to vote on the 29th. If you are not going to vote in the place where you registered, there's two things. You can check online on the website where you are registered. If you are not going to be there, or you think you are going to be by your cousin or your mother or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, number 2, 3, 4, please sign the Section 24 form online now. Because I don't want to come here on election day and then you comrades tell me, they didn't let me vote. Please, 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 right? And it's all online and it's all available there. I'm going to hand over to Member Ngube. She's going to close for us. Thank you. Stand up.
Good afternoon. I will be very short, like myself. We would like to thank everybody that came here from morning and that are here now, and or those that have just left. Otherwise, you gave valuable information which is empowering the committee to have a Gauteng provincial voice in terms of these are the things that the people are saying. So we will follow them in terms of being recognized or acknowledged at national level. Thank you very much for empowering us. Don't forget, you live this where you are. I don't know those that have left, whether they are in the seats or they left with them. Drive safe, be safe wherever you are in terms of being driven back home. And there are important information that you also have to share, like these ones of voting stations and whatever, with your people back at your home. Thank you very much. Siyabonga kakhulu. Sicela nishiye in a chairs, please. Notatil.
You forgot to tell about the WhatsApp number for the legislature if you want to send the WhatsApp questions.
I think we did. Wait, WhatsApp registrations.
For legislators. WhatsApp number.
To register what? To vote?
No, the WhatsApp.
Oh,
WhatsApp number.
No, it's
For
WhatsApp.
legislature, if you want to ask questions, legislature WhatsApp number.
We only have email. We don't have. You can give. I can give you Jabu's email. Nice.
No, I've got the email. I thought there's a WhatsApp number also.
Okay.
So when you're more in this Cape Town, they will
I get to mix ways. If you look for reference, yeah.